Chapter 1557, Physical Examination. Some people were blushing, some had their eyeballs opened widely in shock, and some were still in disbelief and kept wiping their eyes. When everyone was immersed in the shock of Shiyu being a woman, Tong Bing screamed hysterically, "Impossible! How could you be a woman? That's not true." That scream was even more piercing and shrill than a woman's, causing many people in the hall to frown in discomfort. Lu Jishi, who was not much better than Tong Bing, also snapped out of her shock and horror, shouting in a piercing voice, "Shiyu, did you use an illusion?" "Yes, you must have used some deceptive disguise. How can you possibly be a woman? If you're a woman, why did you keep pretending to be a man and deceive everyone?" Before Heshi could speak, Qinghuan stepped forward angrily to stop Jishi. She said resentfully, "My miss is always a woman. She wears men's clothes for convenience. What's the matter? Does the Miracle Healer Academy prohibit women from dressing up as a man to study here? It's your fault for being blind and ignorant. You don't have the right to blame it on my Mississippi." Lu Jishi's face twisted in anguish as she looked at Shiyu and Nangong Yu. She felt as if her chest was clawed fiercely by a cat's paw. The pain was so intense that she wanted to scream hysterically. Shiyu destroyed her pride and self-esteem over the past 6 months. This young man was more charming and had higher cultivation and better medical skills than her. Her only consolation was that Shiyu was a man. She felt she was more suitable for Nangong Yu than a man. But now, reality slapped her hard. Shiyu is actually a woman. How could this be possible? Nangong Hua's face also darkened. The perfect opportunity to eliminate Shiyu and tarnish Nangong Yu's reputation was ruined simply because of a gender transformation. Nangong Hua stepped forward, looked at Shiyu, and sneered, "You self-proclaimed you're a woman, and you expect us to believe you? I even can argue that your current appearance is nothing more than a disguise." "That's right." Yun Jingxue also came back to her senses. She held old lady Nangong's sleeve and questioned, "Unless you can prove you are a woman. Otherwise, why should we believe you?" "Old lady Nangong, am I right?" Old lady Nangong's expression turned complicated. Looking at Shiyu and Yun Jingxue, there seemed to be hesitation in her eyes, but she didn't dare to say it out loud. Nangong Yu looked at Nangong Hua coldly. He sneered, then, "My second uncle, how do you want us to prove it?" Nangong Hua rolled his eyes before he smirked. "Of course, the easiest way is to take off her clothes in public and verify it. In this way, no one will doubt whether Shiyu is a man or a woman. You're courting death." A flash of red light gleamed in Nangong Yu's eyes as he swung his Xian Yuan sword. Nangong Hua frantically dodged, narrowly avoiding the sword light that grazed his cheek. It cut through the protective layer of spiritual power and nearly severed his ear. "You!" Nangong Hua held his cheek. His face flushed, and he stared at Nangong Yu fiercely. As the family master of the Nangong family, his reputation was tarnished for these past 2 days. To make matters worse, it happened in front of the members of the Green Vine clan. Old lady Nangong frowned and said, "Why don't we let my mammy examine Shiyu?" A cold smile flashed in Heshi's eyes, and she looked at Nangong Yu. The so-called physical examination, whether conducted in public or private, was a huge insult to her. Chapter 1558, Switching back to women's clothing. If Nangong Yu dared to let the mammy physically examine her, Heshi would beat him until his nose was bruised and his face was swollen. This was the first time Nangong Yu showed a stern expression to old lady Nangong. He spoke resolutely, "I know better than anyone else whether Shiyu is a man or a woman. I don't need any proof. The person marrying Shiyu is me. Since I said she is a woman, then she is a woman. It has nothing to do with whether the others believe me." Old lady Nangong's complexion froze. Her hands hidden in her sleeves were clenched into fists, and her smile became forced. You are right. Grandma has gone too far." At this time, Tong Bing interjected in a crisp voice, "Your Highness King of Hell, I think you should examine Shiyu's gender. Otherwise, how can you prove that the person who had an affair with the third master is not Shiyu? Even if your Highness King of Hell doesn't mind, it's still important to consider the reputation of the Nangong family. We wouldn't want old lady Nangong to become a laughingstock, right? Tong Bing, you're a nobody with no right to speak here. Qian Dazhuang, stunned by Shiyu's female identity, returned to his senses. He pointed at Tong Bing and scolded, if it weren't for Shiyu saving you and helping you back then, butler whose son would have beaten you to death long ago. How dare you repay kindness with malice, and you even become a toy boy. Shut up. It's disgusting even to speak with you. Shiyu's biggest mistake was saving a scum like you. After returning from the magical beast forest, many people knew about Tong Bing's sneak attack on Shiyu. These people didn't like Tong Bing in the first place. Later, when Wei Chengyuan told about Shiyu's rescue of Tong Bing, many people felt sorry for Shiyu. However, everyone put the matter aside since Tong Bing was dead. Unexpectedly, he dared to make a public accusation right now at this place. Fleeting hatred and resentment flashed in Tong Bing's eyes. However, he quickly put on a pitiful and innocent look. He even took off the white mask to reveal his face. Tong Bing's appearance was deceptive. His crying look would really make people feel that he was being framed. If Shiyu is truly a woman and if she truly has a clear conscience, isn't verifying her gender the easiest solution? Did I say something wrong? Wei Chengyuan, who had been silently on the side, stood up. With an elegant smile, he commented, actually, there is an easier way to prove that Shiyu is a woman. If we let Shiyu change back to women's clothing, everything will be clear, right? Everyone was startled. Then, they returned to their senses one after another, looking at Shiyu in unison. Their eyes were filled with anticipation and curiosity. Some people looked at Shiyu's gorgeous face and couldn't help but swallow quietly. Miluo continent's martial artists' outfits were not as conservative as the traditional ones in ancient times. Most of them accentuated the women's figures, making them a fairy. Shiyu wore men's clothes, so it was difficult to discern her figure. However, the truth would be revealed after she put on women's clothes. How would Shiyu, who was already so stunning in men's clothing, look in women's clothing? Even Nangong Yu couldn't help but show a fascinated expression. Speaking of which, even he had never seen Shiyu formally wearing women's clothing. During their time in the Nalan family, Shier was mostly in disguise. Chapter 1559, Clothing. Nangong Yu wanted to see Shiyu in women's clothes, but only for his eyes. It's even better if I can undress her, but definitely not giving the people here a free show. Thinking of this, he immediately said with a sullen face, no, sure. It came off as a surprise when Heshi agreed faster than Nangong Yu. She nodded before looking at a young lady from the Huang medical branch. Excuse me, can you lend me a set of women's clothing? It was embarrassing to iterate it. Ever since she annihilated the Nalan family, she found the clothes from Nalan Heshi to be worn and cumbersome, so she threw them away. She had thought about buying a few suitable women's outfits for later use but never had the time. That young lady was from Huang medical branch, so she naturally had unconditional admiration and love for Shiyu like a crazy fan. Hearing Shiyu's request for her clothes, she became so excited that her hands and feet began to shake. She fumbled around with her storage ring for quite some time but was too flustered to take out anything from it. Her face was flushed red as she stuttered, just a moment. I'll get the clothes right away. Shiyu, wait for me. I have clothes. I have really beautiful clothes. Heshi smiled slightly. She wanted to calm the young lady down, but the young lady had already brought over a light green dress. Judging by the fabric and design, it was very fashionable and beautiful. This was already the girl's best dress. Yun Jingxue eyed the woman's dress and glanced at Shiyu's face. She was resentful that she had an urge to rush over and scratch Shiyu's face. When she first thought Shiyu was a man, she was already jealous. Now, her sanity was on the brink of being consumed by the flames of envy. As for Nangong Yu, it would be great if she could marry him, but she felt it didn't matter if she couldn't. Most of the young masters of the prominent families in the Siam continent were willing to curry favor with her because of her beautiful face. What Yun Jingxue hated the most was not that Shiyu stole her man away but that Shiyu had a more outstanding face than her. Suddenly, Yun Jingxue recalled a gorgeous dress and how hideous it looked when she wore it. A grim smile slowly spread from the depths of her eyes, eventually turning into the joy of gloating over another's misfortune. As long as Shiyu puts on that dress, she will show her true colors, no matter whether she is a man or a woman. At that time, everyone will realize that I, Yun Jingxue, am the true beauty. Shiyu is pale in comparison. Cousin, you will undoubtedly lose interest because she will turn ugly. With that thought, Yun Jingxue quickly spoke up to stop Shiyu from taking the clothes from her fan. Hold on. All eyes were on Yun Jingxue, even old lady Nangong looked at her questioningly. Yun Jingxue took Lady Nangong's hand and said with a sweet smile, Lady Nangong, don't you think that with Shiyu's beauty, ordinary women's clothing simply doesn't suit her? Old Lady Nangong was taken aback for a moment, then her eyes widened slightly as if she had thought of something. Yun Jingxue's eyes revealed an unmistakable triumph. I believe only that dress is worthy of Shiyu's beauty. Lady Nangong, didn't you say that dress is the Nangong family heirloom intended for the daughter-in-law of the Nangong family? Old Lady Nangong said with astonishment, but that dress, Old Lady Nangong. Yun Jingxue shook Old Lady Nangong's hand playfully. A fleeting cold glint flashed in her eyes. Could it be that you are not satisfied with Shiyu? You think she isn't good enough for cousin Yu? Old Lady Nangong looked troubled. In the end, Yun Jingxue's attitude convinced her to summon the servant to bring the heirloom over. Chapter 1560, Extraordinary. Old Lady Nangong seemed hesitant, but she sneered deep down her heart. Yun Jingxue, this idiot, dares to plot against me. If I don't present the phoenix feather heavenly dress, wouldn't it show that I don't think Shiyu is worthy of Nangong Yu? In that case, Nangong Yu would naturally drift away from me. Still, it's not a good idea. The phoenix feather heavenly dress was the heirloom of the Nangong family and Old Lady Nangong's treasure. Every once in a while, she would take out this dress and imagine how she would look wearing it. However, phoenix feather heavenly dress had been in the Nangong family for nearly 100 years. When she was young, she was elegantly beautiful. She also tried to wear phoenix feather heavenly dress, but her beauty was ruined by the dress. As she grew older, wearing the dress only highlighted the wrinkled skin she saw in the mirror, akin to a withered tree branch. It could be said that in Siam continent, no one had ever become glamorous in phoenix feather heavenly dress. On the contrary, many people would lose their beauty and become unappealing because of the dress. Doesn't Shiyu have a peerless beauty? Doesn't it make Nangong Yu fascinated by her beauty? Let's see, can Nangong Yu still have love and desire for Shiyu under the ugliness imposed by the phoenix feather heavenly dress? Soon, a simple and exquisite dark brown jade box was brought over. The Siam continent had limited treasures that couldn't be stored in ordinary storage devices, including Nebula Du Mirror and Phoenix Feather Heavenly Dress. As soon as the jade box was brought here, everyone's eyes fell on it. The antique dark brown patterns shimmered with a lustrous sheen, and the air was immediately filled with a dense spiritual power. The box for the safekeeping of the Phoenix Feather Heavenly Dress was already quite exquisite. One could imagine how dazzling the dress inside would be. Everyone couldn't help but reach out their necks, and their eyes were all on the box. The dark brown jade box was slowly opened. A myriad of light burst forth, revealing a blooming aurora. Wow, the audience was in an uproar. Everyone widened their eyes and mouths. Looking at the clothes in the jade box, their eyes were full of amazement. Some of the girls even became short of breath. Their eyes shone brightly. They had never seen such a beautiful and luxurious dress. It had seemingly captured the ultimate dream of every young lady. Lu Zhishi could hardly bear it and rushed forward, wanting to grab the phoenix feather heavenly dress into her hand and prevent anyone from taking it away. Even Heshi couldn't help showing a surprised expression when she saw the dress. The dress was more than just stunning. The fabric was woven from exquisite silkworms from the snowy region, which was rare in Siam continent. Intricate patterns lay on the fabric, comprised of numerous formations. However, the combination of these formations was not jarring. Instead, it evoked a mystical beauty. Leaving aside the dress's tailoring, the iridescent jade ornaments were enchanting. Despite having gone through the record of everything, He couldn't identify these ornaments. Every piece was radiant, translucent, and chilling. They were clearly far from ordinary. The Nangong family's mammy carefully picked up the phoenix feather heavenly dress. As the hem drooped and the pleated skirt swayed, the dazzling iridescent starlight made the illuminating crystal stone lose its luster. Chapter 1561, I love it. She had never seen a dazzling dress that could make all other women look unattractive like a village girl. However, it was not only the beauty of the dress that amazed He. Instead, she felt her heart throbbing when the jade box was opened. He reached out her hand and stroked the dress lightly. It was smooth and warm to the touch while remaining soft and pliable. When He's hand made contact with the dress, Lu Jishi showed a distorted and hateful expression. She had a burning desire in her heart for this dress. She felt it was a symbol of glory and beauty that should belong to her. He asked, "Does this dress have a name?" The mammy was stunned by this question. She was startled as her eyes met He's enchanting eyes. There was a remarkable clarity in He's eyes, as if this young lady was not tempted by the splendor of the phoenix feather heavenly dress. Before the mammy said anything, Yun Jingxue stepped forward and sneered, "This is phoenix feather heavenly dress, but it is a family heirloom of the Nangong family. It is a rare treasure even in Siam continent. Sister Shiyu, why don't you try it? Phoenix feather heavenly dress. It's actually that dress." He murmured. As she pronounced the name, she felt the purple jade hairpin in her void tremble slightly. The jade box that stored the purple jade hairpin opened on its own, emitting a luminous glow. He couldn't help but sneer as she recalled the unique characteristic of the phoenix feather heavenly dress that her master had mentioned. No wonder Yun Jingxue wants to let me wear the Nangong family heirloom so badly. She hopes I will look dull and ugly after wearing the phoenix feather heavenly dress, becoming the laughingstock of everyone around. Nangong Yu stepped forward and said, "Sheer, you don't have to wear it if you don't like it." Nangong Yu was keenly aware that something wasn't right when Yun Jingxue was so eager to let Shiyu wear the dress. Unexpectedly, He smiled with her eyes sparkling. "Who said I don't like it?" "No, I love this dress very much." There was a fleeting hint of ridicule in Yun Jingxue's eyes. She thought to herself, I hope you can say the same thing later." However, she revealed a smile on the surface. "The phoenix feather heavenly dress is different from other clothes. You can't put on the dress through spiritual power. Instead, you have to wear it physically like how ordinary people do. Why don't we set up a temporary partition here and let Sister Shiyu change into the dress, so we can all see just how well the phoenix feather heavenly dress suits her?" After experiencing He's disappearance, Nangong Yu wouldn't let her change clothes elsewhere. Soon, a changing room was built by raising the ground with an earth element spell. The hall fell into a brief silence. No sound could be heard from the changing room, and it was thoroughly shielded, so no one knew what was happening inside. Qishan, who was sitting next to Lu Xiang, stuck out his tongue and licked his lips. He commented, "The granddaughter-in-law of the Nangong family is really a stunning beauty. Unfortunately, wearing phoenix feather heavenly dress will only turn a princess into a peasant." Nangong Hua also followed suit with a laugh. He arched his hands toward Qishan and looked at Nangong Yu with ridicule. "Yuer has never returned to the main family, so he may not know that every woman who wears phoenix feather heavenly dress will be ashamed to be seen by others. TSK, will your fiancée still have the nerve to show her face in the future?" Chapter 1562, The Beauty in the Painting. Upon hearing this, Tong Bing and Lu Jishi were overjoyed. Their eyes fixed on the direction of the changing room, and their faces were full of gloating anticipations. Nangong Yu didn't seem to hear their words at all. His attention was all in the changing room. At this moment, the earth element walls of the changing room crumbled. The iridescent light bloomed brilliantly like the sunlight refracted by crystals, making everyone squint their eyes. Every eye in the room was firmly fixed on the young woman. The sound of people swallowing nervously echoed, gulp. Some even jumped to their feet so abruptly that they lost their balance and thudded to the floor. Bowls, chopsticks, and teacups were swept off the tables, making a dripping sound as tea and sauces stained the floor. Yet, no one seemed to care. Even Nangong, who had fantasized about Shiyu wearing a red wedding dress countless times, stared wide-eyed, completely losing his composure. His breathing was quick and erratic as he stared blankly at the woman slowly walking towards him. It felt so perfect, like an illusory dream that would shatter with just a soft touch. Could this beautiful, talented, and breathtaking goddess really be mine? Suddenly, the young woman tilted her head and gave him a playful smile. Her eyes were filled with unwavering affection and quietly flowing sweetness. Shimmering with a purple glow, those clear eyes seemed to ask softly, "Hey, Nangong, do I look good?" Her beauty was solely for him to admire. Her eyes and heart only had him. She was his woman. Nangong took a deep breath, strode forward, grabbed the girl's smooth hand, and clasped it tightly in his palm. "Sheer, I caught you. I will never let go of you again in my lifetime." Nangong and Heshi were immersed in their shock and sweetness, but they didn't know how many people were captivated by Shiyu's charming smile. Before this, the crowd never believed that such stunning beauty could exist in this world. Her hands were delicate as reeds, her skin was smooth like creamy jade, her neck as graceful as silk, her teeth like bright pearls, and her head gracefully poised. She had delicate, finely shaped brows and a charming smile. Her eyes were simply mesmerizing. She was so stunning that she could even rule the world with her beauty. Such descriptions usually only existed in legendary poems or paintings. The descriptions seemed so far-fetched and unreal. However, the peerless beauty that could only be seen in the paintings suddenly stood in front of the crowd. She was even more beautiful and mesmerizing than the description. How could they not lose their composure? Phoenix feather heavenly dress and purple jade phoenix hairpin were dazzling even under the light, but none of the lights could conceal the girl's beauty. Before this, everyone thought Shiyu was wedding someone of higher status by marrying Nangong. Many didn't believe she was in his league. However, a thought swept through almost everyone's mind: who in the world could be worthy of such beauty? Even someone as exceptional as Nangong wouldn't be qualified. Nangong, take off your hand holding the goddess's hand. Let it go. Who allows you to touch the goddess? Chishan of the Green Vine clan stood up and said in disbelief, "Impossible. How is this possible? For millenniums, no one has ever been able to wear the phoenix feather heavenly dress." No, this girl did not just wear the phoenix feather heavenly dress. The radiance of the dress becomes bright and dazzling, and the hidden cloud pattern array shimmers brilliantly. This is clearly a sign that the seal on the phoenix feather heavenly dress has been lifted. Chapter 1563, bursts into laughter. Did the phoenix feather heavenly dress acknowledge her as the master? A mere gold core stage martial artist from the Miluo continent. Afterward, Chishan stared at Shiyu with burning and greedy eyes. Who is this young girl? What is her background and identity? Lu Shiyang was shocked, but he was thinking in a different direction from Chishan. He thought of the wood source in the magical beast forest and the unusual findings he had discovered in Shiyu. Since she can wear the phoenix feather heavenly dress, does that mean the wood source will likely be on her? Is it because of the wood source that allows her to wear the phoenix feather heavenly dress? Thinking of this, Lu Shiyang's eyes burst into a fiery light. He said respectfully, "Sir Chishan, Shiyu is just an ordinary martial artist in Miluo continent, with nothing unusual. However, her master is immortal Xian Qing. I guess her master, immortal Xian Qing, plays a role in her wearing the phoenix feather heavenly dress." Chishan's eyes flickered, and he didn't respond to the statement. However, a hint of ridicule was hidden beneath his gaze. Immortal Xian Qing. Even if immortal Xian Qing has a daughter, she might not be able to wear the phoenix feather heavenly dress, let alone just a disciple. I have to report Shiyu to my lord and investigate this thoroughly. All the scorching gazes in the hall were focused on Heshi, but she didn't feel anything. She never cared about how others viewed her. However, the phoenix feather heavenly dress caught too much attention. Normally, she wouldn't wear such an eye-catching dress that made her the spotlight. The current situation was an exception. Since you want to set me up for embarrassment, I will make your eyes pop out in amazement, hee. Family Master Nangong, may I ask if this is enough to prove my identity? The young lady's voice was crystal clear. Her voice was crisp and melodic. When everyone present heard her voice, they came back to their senses. Many of them couldn't help but wipe their drool. Nangong Hua's face was flushed red. He stuttered, why yes, however, he quickly reacted and snapped back to reality. He opened his eyes widely when he screamed, how is that possible? Why didn't you turn ugly after wearing the phoenix feather heavenly dress? His scream woke many people up. Yun Jingxue was the first to shout hysterically, ah! No way! Why do I look hideous when I wear phoenix feather heavenly dress, and you don't? Shiyu, you bitch! Did you use some kind of illusion? However, she soon returned to her senses, realized what she said, and immediately panicked, no, I didn't wear phoenix feather heavenly dress. I didn't wear it. Ha 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 ha, the crowd burst into laughter. Miss Yun is simply too obvious by trying to hide it. Old Lady Nangong wore a grim and pale expression. She could hardly hide the jealousy in her eyes. She took out the phoenix feather heavenly dress to see Shiyu make a fool of herself and make Nangong Yu give up this marriage. Old Lady Nangong didn't expect Shiyu to amaze the crowd after wearing phoenix feather heavenly dress. What frightened Old Lady Nangong the most was that she had promised to give this phoenix feather heavenly dress to Lu Wushuang. Initially, she thought Shiyu would become ugly after wearing the dress, so Shiyu would not take away the dress. However, if she took the dress away, how would she explain it to Lu Wushuang? Chapter 1564, Happiness. Heshi's eyes swept over everyone. Those who met her gaze blushed and stared at her with infatuation, regardless of gender. Heshi asked loudly, does anyone still question my identity or gender? Does anyone still think I'm unfit to marry Nangong Yu? The crowd below shook their heads in unison as if they were one. At this moment, this peerless girl standing high above them was their queen, their goddess. Anyone daring to oppose her would be seen as blaspheming their idol. They would pick up their weapons and beat the blasphemer to death without a second thought. Nangong Yu hugged Heshi from behind, dissatisfied. He whispered in her ear, you're marrying me. Why are you asking them? As long as I acknowledge you as my wife, they have no say about our marriage. Heshi smiled and said softly, Nangong Yu, I want you to have the best, your family's blessings and the world's envy. I wish for your happiness. I don't want our marriage to invite criticism from others. So, even though Heshi initially didn't care about public opinion, she wanted to tell everyone publicly that she wasn't a toy boy but a woman. She wanted to declare publicly that she was worthy of Nangong Yu and could bring him happiness. Nangong Yu's hands tightened suddenly. His eyes were filled with hot tears. At this moment, he wished to kiss the girl in his arms deeply, hoping that this moment would last forever. Heshi pushed Nangong Yu before waving her hand. The phoenix feather heavenly dress and purple jade phoenix hairpin on her disappeared. She had changed into a set of ordinary women's clothing. After being acknowledged by the phoenix feather heavenly dress as its owner, it could be donned and removed directly. Furthermore, Heshi sensed many secrets were hidden within the dress, but now wasn't the time to uncover them. Once the magnificent and dazzling heavenly dress disappeared, the infatuated crowd came to their senses, daring to look directly at Heshi. The young lady in front of them was still an unparalleled beauty, outshining all the other females in the hall. However, she stopped exuding the air of a goddess that made them want to worship her from afar. Xian Mu stood there in a daze. His expression was cold, but his eyes seemed to contain the heat as intense as lava. He subconsciously pressed his hand on his chest, feeling the rapid beating of his heart. For the first time, he realized that he, too, could experience the same overwhelming emotions as any ordinary person. He longed to get closer to that beautiful girl, to embrace her, and to protect her for the rest of her life. Others might not be able to see the change in Xian Mu's mood, but Tong Bing, whose eyes and heart were filled only with Xian Mu, detected it immediately. His suppressed emotions finally erupted like a volcano at this moment. He pointed and hysterically yelled at Shiyu, "Shiyu, no matter whether you are a man or a woman, you can't deny that you have an affair with the third master. Everyone saw it. You were the first one to appear in that footage." Tong Bing glanced at the crowd in the hall with bloodshot eyes. He shrieked, "Don't trust him. Everything he shows is a sham. Shiyu, this despicable person, is best at deceiving others. If you don't believe me, you can ask Nangong Xian. He must know who he had an affair with. He was calling Shiyu's name the whole time. Just go and ask Nangong Xian." Chapter 1565, Idiot Nangong Xian woke up faintly at this time. When he met Nangong Yu's cold eyes, he trembled all over. He covered his head with his hands and wailed like a pig being slaughtered, "I don't dare anymore. I really don't dare anymore. Don't kill me. Don't kill me." Qian Dazhuang ridiculed, "You idiot, how dare you mislead that the person in the video is Shiyu? We can see clearly that the person is naked with no boobs on his chest. The victim is clearly a man. Now, you still dare to frame Shiyu. Do you think we are idiots? No. No. No." Tong Bing screamed, "You're all deceived by him. Shiyu can't be a man. That's impossible. He likes men like me. He is a toy boy. He's merely a toy boy disguising himself as a woman." Wei Chengyuan pitifully looked at Tong Bing as if he was an idiot. "Don't you know that men simply can't wear the phoenix feather heavenly dress? Everyone in the Nangong family can vouch for this fact." Nangong Hua had an ugly expression, but he did not refute it. Phoenix feather heavenly dress could only be worn by women. This was a fact that everyone in Siam continent knew, and it was not even a secret. Tong Bing's distorted expression froze on his face as he trembled nervously. He clutched at his clothes with his fingers, seemingly eager to blurt out more accusations against Qi Shui. Chen Xiaofeng sneered, "Tong Bing, just because you're into men doesn't mean everyone else is the same." The students and elders of the Miracle Healer Academy at the scene didn't recognize Tong Bing at first, but now they all recognized him. Everyone looked at Tong Bing with disgust as if they were looking at the garbage that made them want to vomit. Someone couldn't help but exclaim loudly, "You're damn disgusting. As a student of Miracle Healer Academy, you stoop so low to be someone's toy boy. If I were you, I might as well die." "Ah!" Tong Bing let out a harsh shriek. A cold aura erupted from him. Although it was not strong, it seemed to form a vortex. "I'm disgusting. I'm cheap. But isn't Shiyu the same? Isn't he also someone's toy boy? If it weren't for him, how could I have ended up being ruined by Nangong Xian?" The cold vortex was not strong, but it was uncomfortable as if the spiritual power and fundamental essence would leave their bodies and rush toward the vortex. Zheng Shouyue exclaimed in horror, "Devouring force? Tong Bing, you are cultivating an evil technique. It's even the most vicious technique that devours other people's spiritual roots and life force. Are you crazy?" As soon as Zheng Shouyue said so, everyone looked at Tong Bing with fear and rejection in their disgusted eyes. Martial artists feared encountering evil techniques and magic weapons the most. That was because things of evil nature were mighty, and they were detrimental to others while beneficial to the user. Tong Bing didn't seem to hear Zheng Shouyue's question, nor could he see the expression of disgust from others. He stared at Shiyu, revealing his strong urge to charge toward her and tear her into pieces. "Shiyu, you bitch. Why? Why is it not enough for you to have Nangong Yu? why do you want to seduce brother Xianmu still? Chapter 1566, Terrified Despair, It's all your fault. I could have lived a happy life, but you're the reason why brother Xianmu refused to accept me. Bitch, you're the one who deserved death. As he said, Tong Bing looked at Xianmu. His bloodshot eyes were filled with obsession, longing, greed, and love. Brother Xianmu, do you see? This fickle bitch, Xiyu, is no longer pure in his mind and body. I'm the only one who truly loves you. I'm the one who is truly worthy of you, willing to give everything to you. Everyone looked at Xianmu with a pitiful gaze. However, Xianmu's expression didn't change at all. He looked at Tong Bing with a cold, emotionless gaze. There was neither disgust nor any emotional fluctuation in his eyes, as if he were looking at a pile of garbage that had nothing to do with him. After a moment, Xianmu said coldly, "Who are you, anyway?" It was a genuine question. Xianmu didn't remember Tong Bing's face at all. To Xianmu, Tong Bing was merely a fly that Xiyu let in. After all, who cared what a fly looked like or what it buzzed in one's ear? Of course not. At most, if it became annoying, one would just swat it dead with a slap. The hope on Tong Bing's face slowly faded, turning into terrified despair. Tong Bing trembled as he shook his head. He muttered hoarsely, "No. No. Brother Xianmu, don't look at me like that. You can't possibly forget me, right? I'm Tong Bing, the one who likes and loves you so much. Everything I've done has been for you. The most disgusting person is Xiyu. He already has Nangong you, but he still wants to seduce you. Don't trust him. All he does is to take advantage of you. He even has an affair with that fat pig Nangong Xian. Xiyu is a slut, who sleeps with anyone." Before Tong Bing finished speaking, Xianmu suddenly waved his hand. A flash of sword aura created with a bare hand shot straight toward Tong Bing. With a swish sound, Tong Bing was left unharmed, but his clothes were torn apart. Or rather, they were shredded into pieces, revealing the young man's bare body. Hiss, everyone couldn't help but gasp. The young man's skin was fair. However, the traces left behind from recent passionate encounters were all the more apparent because of the skin's paleness. However, these lingering traces seemed to be ridiculing him silently for displaying to everyone. Jin Ziyu suddenly narrowed his eyes and said, "Don't you think that the victim in the video who had a passionate moment with Nangong Xian is similar to Tong Bing?" As soon as these words were said, everyone came to a realization. The person who appeared in the video at the beginning was indeed Xiyu. However, it was impossible to see the face of the man being intimate with Nangong Xian, so no one knew who the man was. After Jin Ziyu reminded them, they noticed Tong Bing's appearance, which matched the victim in the video. Tong Bing was terrified and grabbed the tattered clothes to cover his body. However, the clothes were torn into pieces by Xianmu. He could barely cover anything. "Brother Xianmu, why are you doing this to me? Why?" Tong Bing screamed. Chapter 1567, Madness. Tong Bing was met with Xianmu's indifferent expression while everyone in the banquet hall burst into laughter. A white jade shard suddenly appeared in Heshi's hand, and she smiled faintly. "By the way, I found this shard at the crime scene. I was wondering what it was at the time, but now it seems pretty clear that it must be a piece that fell off your mask." Heshi threw the shard out, hitting Tong Bing's mask on the ground. Sure enough, the material of the two was the same. Upon a closer look, everyone noticed a dent in the mask Tong Bing had dropped, which matched the shard Heshi had found. This further proved that Tong Bing was in the desolated courtyard in the footage. Qian Dazhuang sneered, "Tong Bing, what else do you have to say? Not only did you become a toy boy, but you even recorded this kind of video just to frame Xiyu. TSK, can you be any more shameless?" "No. No. It's not me. The person in the image is Xiyu, not me." Tong Bing shook his head frantically and clutched the shard Heshi had thrown with his right hand. Due to the firm grip, the shard cut his palm, and blood began to seep between his fingers. However, Tong Bing seemed not to notice it at all. He stumbled toward Xian Mu with blood spilled in his path. "Brother Xian Mu, trust me. It's really not me." Sob, even the cold and detached Xian Mu revealed a look of disdain. A powerful vortex of spiritual energy slowly began to form in his hand. "Brother Xian Mu, look, look." Tong Bing was crying, tearing off his tattered clothes to reveal his fair body. He then fell to his knees with a thud and crawled toward Xian Mu. "Binger is clean and pure, right? Binger's body is reserved for you. Only I can be worthy of you, brother Xian Mu." Everyone in the banquet hall showed disgusted expressions. Many people turned their eyes away from his naked body, lest their eyes got rotten. Tong Bing cried, "Brother Xian Mu, as long as you want, Tong Bing is willing to offer the purest body and heart." Ugh! Everyone's expression became even more distorted, disgusted by Tong Bing. In their hearts, this self-degrading toy boy had already gone mad for his unrequited love. When everyone turned their emotions into disgust and nausea, the whimpering Tong Bing changed his expression. Like a cannonball, he shot toward Shiyu, who was not far away. Since his right hand was covered with blood, no one noticed a powerful devouring vortex had already formed there. Was Tong Bing crazy? Of course not. He could bear the burden of humiliation and become Nangong Xian's toy boy for revenge, so he wouldn't lose himself like this. From the moment his conspiracy was exposed, his target was only Shiyu. Tong Bing wanted to put his all into devouring Heshi's dantian with the strongest devouring power he could muster. As long as he had the wood's spiritual root, the Green Vine clan would not let him die. That was his only chance. Everything I face today is caused by Shiyu. It's Shiyu's cold and heartless behavior that brought me to such a state, and it's Shiyu who stole my glory, making me the subject of ridicule and contempt. As long as Shiyu dies, as long as I consume Shiyu's talents, everything that Shiyu possesses will be mine. Whether it's the status of a genius in the Miracle Healer Academy or Xian Mu's attention, I will take them all. Chapter 1568, Overconfidence. "Shiyu, go to hell." A scream resounded in the banquet hall. The powerful devouring vortex on Tong Bing's right hand reached toward Heshi's dantian fiercely. There was a distorted and ferocious smile on Tong Bing's face, but he was met with a pair of smiling, clear, and beautiful eyes full of mockery. Those were Shiyu's eyes. Every arch of her brows and every expression in her eyes seemed to be mocking his foolishness and overconfidence. Tong Bing felt a sharp pain in his right palm the next moment. "Ah!" Tong Bing let out a scream. His body fell to the ground, then his eyes widened, looking not far away in disbelief. It was a severed palm. The cut was so clean that not much blood seeped out after it fell. That severed hand was Tong Bing's hand. Nangong Yu clicked his tongue, withdrew the Xian Yuan sword, and stared at Xian Mu coldly. "I will deal with the scum who wants to hurt Shi myself. You don't need to intervene." Xian Mu sneered, dissipating the sword aura in his hand. He approached Shiyu slowly and said lowly, "Be careful of his devouring power. It's not just devouring. Getting too closer may unleash the hidden 5 elements power." Heshi raised her eyebrows and looked at Xian Mu, only to see that her roommate was still cold and indifferent. However, Heshi wondered if he knew something. Tong Bing's eyes were full of resentment and despair. He stared at Xian Mu, who was approaching Shiyu. "Brother Xian Mu, why? Why? I treat you so well, and I love you so much. It doesn't matter even if the entire world wants to kill me, but why do you treat me like that?" Xian Mu slowly gathered sword aura in his hand as he said coldly, "It seems you don't even want to keep your mouth anymore." Xian Mu's voice was indifferent and calm without a trace of emotion. However, it made Tong Bing shudder in horror, silencing him from saying more words. Nangong Yu looked at Tong Bing coldly with a deep smile. "Tell me. Besides you, who else is involved in this matter? If you tell the truth, I will grant you a quick death." Upon hearing Nangong Yu's words, Lu Zhishi, Yun Jingxue, and Nangong Hua's expressions changed simultaneously, but they quickly forced themselves to calm down. A complex expression flickered on Tong Bing's face. His eyes swept over Shi Yu's gorgeous appearance in women's clothing, and deep hatred flashed in his eyes. He laughed with a twisted face, "Ha ha ha, I'm dead anyway. Why should I tell you? I want to make her restless day and night, living in the anxiety and torment of being schemed all the time. Shi Yu, do you think you'll live happily ever after killing me? Dream on. You're doomed to meet a terrible end. Even if I'm gone, others will stop at nothing to kill you. You can forget about marrying Nangong Yu peacefully in your lifetime." Ha ha ha. Nangong Yu's face was gloomy and terrifying. Previously, Nangong Yu wanted to tear Tong Bing into pieces, but now, he would never allow Tong Bing to die so quickly. A fleeting flash of crimson light sparkled in Nangong Yu's deep and mysterious eyes as he sneered coldly, "Do you think there's no difference between one death and another? Do you think that with your devious devouring power, as long as you're alive, you can turn the tables? And you can have a fresh start?" Chapter 1569, The Devil. By the end of the sentence, fear showed in Tong Bing's eyes, but Nangong Yu just let out low laughter. Suddenly, he waved his hand and commanded, "Xian Wu, remove his dantian first. We can't leave any room for future trouble." Xian Wu walked forward without saying a word. The scene took place like what had happened to Mammy Chi a few hours ago. Xian Wu dug out Tong Bing's dantian publicly in the most brutal manner possible. Yet, Xian Wu still carefully stitched up Tong Bing's belly to prevent him from dying. During the process, Tong Bing constantly cried, wailed, and even screamed out loud that he was willing to confess about his accomplices. However, Nangong Yu didn't stop Xian Wu. Naturally, Xian Wu didn't halt his actions either. It wasn't until Xian Wu's work was finished that Nangong Yu looked at the dying Tong Bing and sneered, "Now you want to confess your accomplice? Ha, what a pity. I don't want to hear it anymore. Anyone who had a part in setting up Shi Yu today, I will seek you out one by one. Tong Bing's fate today will be yours tomorrow. No one can escape." Nangong Yu looked around with a bloodthirsty sneer in his eyes. Wherever he looked, everyone was silent, and their legs were trembling. Yun Jingxue was in a better state since she hid behind old lady Nangong, but Lu Zhishi's face turned pale with fright. Everyone realized that Nangong Yu was serious this time. He was furious, seething with rage. It was only at this moment that they remembered how the 21-year-old king of hell Nangong Yu was decisive, cold-hearted, and ruthless. With just the Xian Yuan sword, he alone dyed the Guijing mountain range with the blood of demonic beasts. Tong Bing was trembling all over. Pain, despair, hatred, and madness made his voice hoarse and shrill. "Nangong Yu, you're a devil. You will be punished, you devil. Devil. Shi Yu, you bitch. You will die a horrible death if the others know what's inside your body." Before Tong Bing could finish his sentence, Nangong Yu slapped him. Tong Bing was just a mortal now. He was defenseless against Nangong Yu's slap. 3 or 4 of his teeth were knocked out immediately. He passed out directly. No one paid attention to Tong Bing's words in the banquet hall, but Lu Shuyang was an exception. A searing light flashed in his eyes. Tong Bing said something is inside Shi Yu. When Shi Yu advanced, Tong Bing seemed to be in the confinement space with her, and she almost killed Tong Bing at that time. Was it because Tong Bing discovered her secret? For example, Shi Yu has the wood source hidden in her body. Nangong Yu was about to ask Xian Wu to take Tong Bing away to torture him for a few years before slaughtering him, but Jin Ziyu suddenly took a step forward. He approached Shi Yu and said, "Shi Yu, Your Highness King of Hell, regarding the disposal of Tong Bing, can you leave it to me to arrange it? There are 2 people who would be more than happy to decide his fate." Shi looked surprised. Jin Ziyu was a practical and talented person, but he typically didn't like taking on tasks unless they were assigned to him. He would handle assigned tasks skillfully and with finesse, but he never overstepped his boundaries or interfered where he wasn't needed. Jin Ziyu seemed to understand Heshi's doubts. His expression became somewhat gloomy. Shiyu, I don't know if you still remember Butler Hu and his son, who were in charge of your entrance exam and spiritual root test at the Miracle Healer Academy. Heshi searched her memory and quickly recalled them. Is it that arrogant young man, Hu Minghui, who had beaten Tong Bing at the entrance of the restaurant, and his father? Why did Jin Ziyu suddenly bring them up? Chapter 1570, Ownership of the Phoenix Feather Heavenly Dress, What Happened to Them? Jin Ziyu's cold and disdainful eyes swept over the unconscious Tong Bing, slowly asking, Shiyu, have you seen them since then? Heshi thought for a while before nodding. She indeed hadn't seen them. They were kicked out of Miracle Healer Academy, deprived of all their possession. Worse still, they had fallen prey to a scam and had a huge debt on Crystal Stone. Hu Minghui's leg and arm were broken. He and his son were sent to the slum, working daily to repay the debt. Moreover, they were required to pay the living fees in Miracle Healer City but weren't allowed to leave. Hu Minghui was even rap. Jin Ziyu paused and didn't say anything further. However, he had a serious expression. Tong Bing was the culprit. He made that happen as soon as he returned to Miracle Healer Academy. Heshi opened her eyes widely. It turns out that Tong Bing had carried out such a vicious action as early as the first day he returned to Miracle Healer Academy. All his innocence and tears were nothing but a facade. Perhaps, from the moment Tong Bing drew on the beastkin's life force to protect himself, his heart had utterly turned dark. Jin Ziyu's expression relaxed a little. He said calmly, Butler Hu and his son are not good people. Although I came to know about this matter unintentionally, I don't want to help them. However, I think handing Tong Bing to them for punishment would be the best outcome. Heshi sneered and said nonchalantly, a reunion of old friends. That's a good idea. Let's hand Tong Bing over to them, shall we? Jin Ziyu stepped forward to tie Tong Bing up. Nangong Yu suddenly squatted down and tapped on Tong Bing's forehead. No one noticed that black spiritual power was injected into Tong Bing's body. The black spiritual power would prolong Tong Bing's longevity, but he could never absorb any spiritual power. Moreover, Tong Bing was made immortal now. The dark spiritual power would control his thoughts and extract part of his fundamental essence so that he could not say anything that would harm Heshi. Tong Bing would live for a long time, but he would suffer hell-like torment and pain and never find a moment of peace. Jin Ziyu dragged Tong Bing away. The people in the banquet hall, terrified by the bloody scene, finally breathed a sigh of relief. However, Nangong Yu turned his gaze to Nangong Xian. Nangong Xian's eyes widened suddenly, and he trembled. Nangong Hua's complexion changed slightly, but he forced a smile and said, all right, since this has all been a misunderstanding, let's put an end to it here. About the marriage of you and Miss Shi, we still have to discuss it. In addition, the Phoenix Feather Heavenly Dress is the family heirloom of our Nangong family. It cannot be left in the hands of outsiders. Miss Shi, please hand it over. Nangong Yu's face darkened, and he sneered, Second uncle, do you take me as a fool? The Phoenix Feather Heavenly Dress is the Siam continent's treasure, but not everyone can wear it. Now that Sheer has put it on, it means the Phoenix Feather Heavenly Dress has acknowledged Sheer as its master. The dress naturally belongs to Sheer. What nonsense are you talking about? Nangong Hua's face turned livid. He looked at old lady Nangong, Mother, please say something. When father died, he made us promise to take good care of the Phoenix Feather Heavenly Dress. Even if you marry into our Nangong family, whether she can inherit the dress is still up for debate. Old lady Nangong was troubled. She looked at Nangong Yu, hesitating to speak. Chapter 1571, Bully old lady Nangong was reluctant to part with Phoenix Feather Heavenly Dress, but she was even more afraid that Lu Wushuang would be angry if she couldn't get the dress. However, if she insisted on taking the dress from Shiyu, Nangong Yu would undoubtedly be upset, and it might drive a wedge between them. With a mocking gaze sharp as a needle, Nangong Hua sneered at Hashi. Shiyu, how shameless can you get? It's one thing to be desperate to marry into the Nangong family, but trying to claim our family heirloom too. If you have any shred of dignity left, hand over the phoenix feather heavenly dress now. Otherwise, don't blame me for being. Before he could say the last word, rude, a strong gust of wind took him by surprise. Nangong Hua felt a sharp slap on his left cheek, causing him to stumble slightly. His face was filled with shock and disbelief. An old man sneered from the banquet hall's rafters, "Who do you think you're crossing, Nangong family's punk? Threaten my disciple? It seems you're asking for trouble." "Master." Hashi looked up in surprise. Immortal Xian Qing somersaulted in the air, landed gracefully before Hashi, and chuckled, "My dear disciple, you're finally in woman's clothing. As expected, you look stunning. I have never seen a prettier young lady than you. TSK TSK TSK, I saw you put on the phoenix feather heavenly dress. Even the ladies in the god domain can't compare to your elegance. Ha ha ha, like master, like disciple. You have made your master proud." The onlookers' mouths twitched, glancing between the old beggar's ragged, ugly appearance and Shiyu's breathtakingly beautiful face. There are simply no similarities. Where's the like master, like disciple in this? Aren't you just spouting nonsense? Sitting next to Lu Xiyang, Qishan's eyebrows twitched slightly. The light in his eyes flickered. Although Qishan knew that Immortal Xian Qing was Shiyu's master, he was still shocked to see Immortal Xian Qing take such good care of Shiyu. Immortal Xian Qing was notorious for being indifferent to people on Siam continent. He never gave face to any family. Upon realizing Immortal Xian Qing slapped him, Nangong Hua's face turned gloomy and pale. His eyes were filled with fear and anger. He gritted his teeth and said, "Immortal Xian Qing, you have to be reasonable even if your cultivation is higher. Phoenix feather heavenly dress belongs to our Nangong family." Slap, another slap. Immortal Xian Qing said sternly, "What my disciple wants, even if it isn't hers, I'd take it for her. Does the Nangong family dare to object?" Nangong Hua gritted his teeth so hard they almost bled and snapped, "Immortal Xian Qing, how can you bully?" Slap, 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 4 consecutive and merciless slaps. Even if Nangong Hua was at the soul-splitting stage, his face was swollen from the slaps. Xian Qing placed his hands on his hips, "I'm indeed bullying you, so what? If you've got the guts, fight back. Let me tell you, the phoenix feather heavenly dress has already chosen my disciple as its master. That means it belongs to her. If you don't accept that, hee, I'll just keep beating you until you do. So, do you want to give it a try?" Nangong Hua's face twitched a few times. His eyes swept around. Seeing the mocking and pitiful eyes of the people around him, he felt a mix of shame and rage. He wished he could just find a hole to crawl into. He waved to his subordinates, telling them to help Nangong Xin to leave. However, Nangong Yu said leisurely, "Second uncle, you can leave if you want, but not Nangong Xin." Chapter 1572, The Death of Nangong Xin. Nangong Hua turned his head with anger blazing in his eyes. "Nangong Yu, what do you mean by that? Do you still want to deal with your third uncle? Don't forget. He is your elder." "Elder?" Nangong Yu sneered. His eyes were flickering with cold light. When he had those disgusting thoughts about Shiyu, my beloved, did he think about being my third uncle? When he tried to force himself on Shiyu, did he remember he was my third uncle? When he slandered Shiyu in front of everyone, did he consider his position as my third uncle? Nangong Xion's chubby flesh trembled all over. His face was already unattractive. Now that it was smeared with snot and tears, it looked even more repulsive than a toad's skin. He fell to the ground, pissing and shitting his pants. Though his mouth hung open, he couldn't muster a single word. Nangong Hua was stunned by Nangong Yu's questioning for a moment. His face twisted in anger, and he said sternly, "No matter what he did, he is your third uncle. Shi Yu is just a woman. There are countless other women out there. Even if she's been mistreated, she's just a plaything. Are you going to defy your elder over a woman, over a mere toy?" Hearing Nangong Hua's words, Nangong Xin seemed to have grasped a line of hope and nodded repeatedly, "Yes, I didn't succeed at all. I haven't laid a hand on Shi Ju. I never had the chance to harm her. You. Nangong Yu, I'm your third uncle. You can't kill me over a woman. Please, spare me. I promise I'll never do it again. Never do it again." Nangong Yu let out a chilling, mocking laugh. "You said the same thing 5 years ago. Yet, not only did you repeat your mistakes, but you even dared to target my wife. Nangong Xin, you deserve to die." As soon as the sentence ended, Xian Yuan's sword flew up in the air and slashed toward Nangong Xin fiercely. "Stop!" Nangong Hua roared. He hurriedly launched his magic weapon to intercept Nangong Yu's attack. However, it was too late. Xian Yuan's sword pierced through Nangong Xion's chest before he even made a sound. His heart burst, meeting his ultimate demise. The air seemed to echo with the sound of the sword piercing through the flesh. To some, the attack was deafening as a thunderclap. The entire hall was so silent that even the drop of a needle could be heard. Everyone averted their gaze, avoiding the bloodthirsty eyes. The so-called King of Hell governed the life and death of the world and the 6 realms of reincarnation. While possessing the appearance rivaling the fairies, he was cruel and cold-hearted. At this moment, they all believed the legend because Nangong Yu did not even hesitate to kill his uncle. The magic weapon Nangong Hua threw had returned to him, but his hand holding the magic weapon was still shaking violently. It was a clear sign of his intense fury. "Nangong Yu, how could you be so heartless? That's your third uncle. Acting against the natural order and killing your elder, you'll surely face heaven's retribution. And you." Nangong Hua pointed at Shi Yu with hatred in his eyes. "You're the woman spelling trouble here. If it weren't for you, Nangong Yu would never have done such a thing. You will also be punished by heaven." He raised her eyebrows and grunted coldly, "Oh, Nangong Yu will suffer retribution for killing the promiscuous Nangong Xin, so may I ask, what will happen to someone who colluded with outsiders to kill his elder brother?" Chapter 1573, Exposed. Nangong Hua's expression froze, revealing a mix of emotions. He blurted out in a panic, "What nonsense are you talking about? Shut up." Heshi's eyes were filled with mockery. "If you weren't spouting nonsense, I wouldn't have spoken up. Otherwise, let's see who can expose more juicy stories. What do you say, Family Master Nangong?" Since Ouyang Haoshuan encountered Lu Wushuang, Heshi had prompted him to investigate the past involving both the Nangong family and the Lu family. Coupled with the rumors Heshi heard from immortal Xian Qing, she began to grasp why Nangong Yu acted so coldly toward the Nangong family. Back in the day, Lu Wushuang, the eldest daughter of the Lu family, fell in love with Nangong Outyan. The Nangong family, aiming to curry favor with the Lu family, pressured Nangong Outyan to marry Lu Wushuang. However, not only did Nangong Outyan refuse, but he also publicly embarrassed Lu Wushuang. Lu Wushuang's love turned into hatred, letting the Nangong family expel Nangong Outyan. Worse still, Yun Churen was pregnant, and yet Lu Wushuang cruelly harmed her, causing her to die within a few years after giving birth to Nangong Yu. Later, when Nangong Outyan sought revenge on Lu Wushuang, someone secretly schemed against him, tipping off his enemies. This led to his failed revenge attempt, ultimately resulting in his tragic death. As for who was pulling the strings behind the scenes and who benefited the most, it was clear as day after thinking it through. Nangong Hua closed his eyes and gritted his teeth, but the panic in his heart forced him to shut his mouth. He looked in the direction of old lady Nangong. At first, old lady Nangong was taken aback, but when she realized that Nangong Yu killed Nangong Xian, her face immediately filled with grief. She cried out, "My third child." Nangong Hua gritted his teeth and said, "Mother, shouldn't Nangong Yu be punished for such a heinous act?" Old lady Nangong glanced at Nangong Yu, noticing he was also looking at her. His expression was filled with concern, but there was also a trace of ruthlessness. Old lady Nangong's heart skipped a beat, but her face revealed a look of guilt and remorse. She said with bloodshot eyes, "This is all his fault. We can't blame Yuer. Yuer did nothing wrong. I'm at fault for not raising him well, leading him to commit such a heinous act." As old lady Nangong spoke, she beat her chest and cried loudly with a look of regret. Everyone in the room thought to themselves, the Nangong family from the Siam continent isn't that impressive, but this old lady is genuinely kind-hearted and principled. She is truly respectable. Nangong Yu walked over to old lady Nangong, gently holding her rough and withered hand, whispering, "Grandmother, I'm sorry for my unfilial actions. But I can't stand by and let anyone scheme against Shiyu like this. These people are like clowns lurking in the shadows. Unless they are dealt with completely, they will always pose a threat to Shiyu's safety." As he said that, his cold gaze swept across the crowd below. He sneered, Tong Bing's cunning, but given his level of cultivation, knowledge, and status as a toy boy, it's impossible for him to tamper with the teleportation array. Moreover, the fact that the culprit had arranged the 7 stars trapping formation in the deserted courtyard, he is no ordinary individual. Having such a figure lurking in the shadows would surely keep me on edge, especially during my wedding. However, thankfully, Nangong Yu paused. His cold expression turned into a mocking smile. Just now, Xian Wu has gone to investigate the courtyard where the 7 stars trapping formation is arranged. He is certain that the person installing the 7 stars trapping formation has left an important clue there. Chapter 1574, No one can get away. Everyone's gaze shifted to Xian Wu in unison. They noticed that his position had changed, and there was dust on him. Despite having nascent soul stage martial artists and even soul-splitting stage in the hall, no one noticed he had left. Nangong Yu looked at everyone's expressions with satisfaction and said slowly, "I believe that if we follow this lead and unravel it, we'll uncover the other conspirators soon. Like I said before, whoever has a part in framing Shiyu, every single one of you can't get away with it." As soon as Nangong Yu said this, Lu Zhishi and Yun Jingxue turned pale and trembled with fright. Lu Zhishi suppressed the panic in her heart, reminding herself that she was Lu Shiyang's daughter. Nangong Yu wouldn't dare to harm her. On the other hand, a voice reminded her with a sneer, Nangong Yu even dared to kill his third uncle. Why would he spare you? Yun Jingxue broke into cold sweat out of fear. She was terrified of her nominal cousin. When she was in the Yun family, she heard that Yun Churen, the good-for-nothing abandoned by the family, married a lunatic, and that person was Nangong Outyen from the Nangong family. But now she felt Nangong Yu was 100 times more crazy and vicious than Nangong Outyen. Yun Jingxue held old lady Nangong's hand and looked at her pleadingly. Old lady Nangong wiped her tears and said to Nangong Yu, "All the hardships Shiyu has suffered ultimately stem from my inability to manage the family, which allowed the toy boy and Mammy to succeed in their scheme. No matter who else is behind the scene, I owe Shiyu an apology. Grandmother, you don't need to blame yourself." Nangong Yu shook his head and said, "This has nothing to do with you. Even if there were flaws in overseeing the Nangong family, the responsibility lies with someone else." Nangong Hua's complexion turned livid. He gritted his teeth, but he didn't speak. Nangong Yu was clearly mocking his incompetence as the family master. Old lady Nangong shook her head with sadness and guilt. If you still believe in Grandma, leave this matter to Grandma to investigate. Grandma swears that I will give you and Shiyu justice. It's the time to set our Nangong family straight." Nangong Yu was startled, wanting to decline. However, after seeing the determination in old lady Nangong's eyes, he could only nod and agree, "Grandma, I'll leave the investigation of the Nangong family to you." I will ask Xian Wu and Qing Wan to assist you in investigating at the Miracle Healer Academy. Old Lady Nangong nodded and walked up to Heshi with red eyes. She held Heshi's hand, sobbing, "My child, I'm sorry for what you had suffered. Rest assured. I will make things right for you." Heshi felt the dry hands stiffen slightly as they grasped hers. Then, the grip tightened as if old Lady Nangong couldn't control her emotions. Her eyes flickered, but she revealed nothing on her face. She smiled slightly and said, "Old Lady Nangong, I'm fine." The farce finally came to an end at this time. What was supposed to be a lively family banquet turned into a scheme. In the end, they made a fool of themselves, making the Nangong family the laughingstock of the Miluo continent. Soon, the joke would spread to the entire Siam continent. However, there were only two things that left the deepest impression on everyone present here. Firstly, it was the sight of Shiyu standing before everyone while wearing the phoenix feather heavenly dress and the purple jade phoenix hairpin. She was breathtakingly beautiful, truly an unparalleled goddess. Thank you for supporting our novels. Your comment, interaction, and just by reading the novels are a great support to us. Discover what unfolds next by accessing the chapters before anyone else. Your support means the world to us. Click here to access our support page. Follow current novels on Top Novel Full. CM if you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1575. It's your fault. Another moment that stood out was Nangong Yu's announcement. I, Nangong Yu, will marry Shiyu as my wife in Jinling Kingdom's Yanjing City on September 9th. From today onward, Shiyu will be my fiancé. Anyone who disrespects her is disrespecting me too. Those who oppose her will be my enemy too. If anyone dares to harm Shiyu, I, Nangong Yu, will spare no effort to tear them to pieces. On that day, the King of Hell Mansion will host the Cheong Luo banquet. I invite everyone here to attend my wedding with Shiyu in Yanjing City. In the Cheong Luo banquet, every spiritual food was a delicacy, and every spiritual fruit and meat was of the highest grade, above grade 5. Even the 4 major families that amassed great wealth wouldn't dare casually boast about hosting a Cheong Luo banquet. It was a banquet that could bankrupt them. Unexpectedly, Nangong Yu would have a Cheong Luo banquet at the wedding. Considering the number of guests that would attend, it seemed like he was ready to spend all his fortune. Was it because the King of Hell was wealthy? Or was he so madly in love with Shiyu? The sun slowly set to the west. The Nangong family's family banquet had ended. After all the guests had left, only the people of the Nangong family was left. At this moment, the usually gentle and kind old lady Nangong couldn't hold her composure. She sat on the chair with a gloomy face without saying a word. Yun Jingxue walked back and forth in the room angrily, occasionally stomping her feet in frustration. Old lady Nangong, how can you agree to let cousin Yu marry Shiyu? Didn't you always say that I would be the one to become cousin Yu's wife, the granddaughter-in-law of the Nangong family? What should I do now? The master of the Thousand Poison Valley has ordered me to seduce Nangong Yu, even if it's just a one-night stand. To make Yun Jingxue do her best, Lu Wushuang even showed her the fate of Feng Lianying. She was still haunted by the mocking voice from Lu Wushuang's disciple. Do you see that? Feng Lianying was my master's most beloved senior disciple, but now she has fallen into such a situation. Do you know why? It's because she is useless, unable to even seduce a Nangong Yu. If you prove to be just as incompetent, then what happened to Feng Lianying will happen to you. Understand? If you do, then give it your all and let Nangong Yu fall for your beauty. Thinking of the ruthless threatening words and Feng Lianying's miserable fate in the video, Yun Jingxue shuddered and shook her head wildly. No. I must never fall into that fate, absolutely not. Thinking of this, Yun Jingxue's temper became even more irritable. She didn't bother to keep up her usual innocent facade in front of old lady Nangong. Old lady Nangong, it's all your fault. Out of all people in the Nangong family, cousin Yu listens only to you. Wouldn't he obey if you were firm and ordered him not to marry Shiyu? Old lady Nangong, have you gone senile? If you really let Shiyu into the family, aren't you afraid that Lu Wushuang will come to settle scores with the Nangong family? How dare you? Behind old lady Nangong, Nanny Li scolded coldly, who do you think you are to act so presumptuously in front of the old lady? Don't forget, Nangong Yu would get to the bottom of today's event if it weren't for her. When Nangong Yu gets to the bottom of it and traces back to Miss Yun, you'd better brace yourself for his wrath. The tragic images of Tong Bing and the lifeless corpse of Nangong Xin flashed before Yun Jingshue's eyes, making her shiver uncontrollably. Thank you for supporting our novels. Your comment, interaction, and just by reading the novels are a great support to us. Discover what unfolds next by accessing the chapters before anyone else. Your support means the world to us. Click here to access our support page. Follow current novels on Top Novelful. Com if you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know, report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1576, They Won't Be Getting Married. Yun Jingxue glanced at the gloomy old lady Nangong. She noticed there seemed to be a storm in her eyes, and she felt uneasy. Although old lady Nangong's cultivation level wasn't impressive, she held significant power in Nangong family. Especially since she was the only relative that Nangong Yu truly respected, under no circumstances could Yun Jingxue afford to offend the old lady. Yun Jingxue took a few steps forward, knelt before the old lady, and said with an ashamed look, "Old lady Nangong, I was blinded by jealousy earlier that I spoke those nonsense. Please don't take it to the heart. But what should Jingxue do now? Do I have to let Nangong Yu marry Shiyu?" Yun Jingxue gritted her teeth in hatred as she ended her sentence. Although she only married Nangong Yu under Lu Wushuang's order, she was jealous of Shiyu, especially Shiyu's flawless beauty. She wanted to turn her into a bloody mess. Old lady Nangong looked at Jingshue's twisted and hideous expression. Her eyes were full of ridicule and contempt. How does a fool like her dare to yell at me? I only keep you around to fulfill Lu Wushuang's plan. I will witness your tragic death once Lu Wushuang's goal is accomplished. Despite thinking so in her heart, old lady Nangong didn't show it. She just sighed, do you think Yu'er will listen to me even if I stop him today? He has long been fascinated by Shiyu. Didn't you see that Yu'er even gave Shiyu the phoenix feather heavenly dress, the heirloom of our Nangong family? He even ignored my objection. As soon as phoenix feather heavenly dress was mentioned, Nangong Hua, who was already sulking on the side, became resentful. He glared at Yun Jingxue. If it weren't for your meddling, letting Shiyu try on the phoenix feather heavenly dress, how would the treasure of our Nangong family be taken away? Moreover, Lu Wushuang specifically asked to try on the phoenix feather heavenly dress. Now that we can't hand it to her, I have no idea how we will explain it. Yun Jingxue wanted to cry. It was her idea to let Shiyu try on the phoenix feather heavenly dress, but she just wanted Shiyu to make a fool of herself. Who would have thought? Nangong Hua slammed his hand on the table. His voice was filled with resentment and frustration. That bastard Nangong Yu is so ruthless that he doesn't care about family bonds. Mother, what should we do now? If Nangong Yu marries Shiyu and our phoenix feather heavenly dress is taken away, Lu Wushuang will surely not spare our Nangong family. Old lady Nangong had regained her composure. She sipped her tea and slowly said, "Don't worry. They won't be getting married." In a slum in Miracle Healer City, Butler Hu limped toward his thatched shack. Along the way, the pungent smell of decay filled his nose. He would step on black lumps of garbage from time to time, but Butler Hu seemed to have gotten used to it a long time ago and didn't pay it any mind. The slums seemed to be the epitome of the dark side of Miracle Healer City. All the filth and discarded waste were gathered in this place. It was as if the brightest thing must have a dark side. If Miracle Healer City was glamorous, the slums in the city were suffering from poverty. Butler who walked into his thatched shack. He paused abruptly and instinctively shrank back a bit. In his dilapidated thatched shack were a few students wearing Miracle Healer Academy uniforms. Butler who was so frightened that he fell to the ground and yelled in panic, "Don't hit me! Don't hit me! I won't do it again. Please spare me and my son." Sob, thank you for supporting our novels. Your comment, interaction, and just by reading the novels are a great support to us. Discover what unfolds next by accessing the chapters before anyone else. Your support means the world to us. Click here to access our support page. Follow current novels on topnovelfool.com if you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know, report chapter, so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1577, Hu family's father and son Hu Minghui, who was drowsy at first, came out from behind the makeshift curtain in the thatched shack after hearing the commotion. He was haggard and worn, with hollow cheeks. One arm hung limply by his side, one leg was missing from below the knee, and horrible pus and blood were still oozing from the wound. Seeing the folks wearing Miracle Healer Academy uniforms, Hu Minghui rushed over like a madman, screaming at the top of his lungs, "Did that bastard Tong Bing send you to torture me? I will take you all down with me." Before Hu Minghui could reach Jin Ziyu, Chen Xiaofeng effortlessly shoved him to the ground. Jin Ziyu looked at them condescendingly and said calmly, "Feed them medicinal pills." Butler Hu and his son still had some cultivation, but they were one level lower than before. They should have suffered severe injuries. Butler Hu thought the students were going to feed him and his son poison. They immediately yelled and struggled hysterically. However, Chen Xiaofeng just flicked his fingers lightly, and the medicinal pills entered their mouths quickly. However, after 15 minutes, Butler Hu felt that something was amiss. The dried-out spiritual power inside his body surged, and the previously burning pain in his dantian was relieved. Even the wound on Hu Minghui's feet recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye, even though his injured hands and feet could not recover. Staring in disbelief at the small wound that was slowly healing on his palm, Butler Hu knelt before Jin Ziyu. "Benefactor, may I know your honorable name? My son and I are forever indebted for your immense kindness and would work tirelessly in gratitude." Jin Ziyu's expression remained cold. "I'm not interested in asking you to work with me, but I need you to take good care of someone." Although Butler Hu was full of doubts, he immediately expressed his loyalty. "May I ask who the benefactor wants us to take care of?" "We will do our best," Jin Ziyu sneered and waved his hand. Someone outside the door quickly threw in Tong Bing, who was tightly bound. Tong Bing was awake, but his mouth was sealed with a disgusting paste. He was unable to speak. Seeing Tong Bing being thrown in, Hu Minghui's eyes turned bloodshot. He rushed over frantically. His eyes shot out raging fire of hatred. He roared, "Tong Bing, you vicious devil! You scum, you deserve 1,000 cuts. You're going to die horribly. You're going to hell. You are definitely going to hell." Butler Hu grabbed his son and tried to comfort him before looking at Jin Ziyu with red eyes. "What do you want?" Before Jin Ziyu could speak, Chen Xiaofeng chuckled and said, "Butler Hu, you're smart. You surely know what I want. This scum is cunning, vicious, and cruel. It's not just you and your son that he has offended, there are many more. Our master doesn't want to dirty his hand because of this scum, so he wants to give him to Butler Hu and his son to take good care of him. Just make sure he doesn't die easily. What do you say, Butler Hu?" Butler Hu was taken aback momentarily, and a blazing light burst out from his eyes. Hu Minghui trembled from his head to the toe with his mouth wavering. He stared at Tong Bing before bursting into hearty laughter. "Excellent. This is just perfect. Please go back and tell your master that I will take good care of him. I will ensure he won't have a single moment free from torture worse than death. Thank you for supporting our novels. Your comment, interaction, and just by reading the novels are a great support to us. Discover what unfolds next by accessing the chapters before anyone else. Your support means the world to us. Click here to access our support page. Follow current novels on Top Novelful. Com if you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know, report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1578, Too late to regret. Though Tong Bing was tied up and couldn't speak, he could hear the conversation. Seeing Hu Minghui's piercingly hateful eyes, he struggled and whimpered violently. Tong Bing regretted it deeply. He could accept death, even becoming a toy boy, but he couldn't bear falling into the hands of the Hu family's father and son. That would be a torment worse than death, more terrifying than hell. Jin Ziyu threw out a bag of crystal stones, turned around, and left without saying anything. Just as he was about to leave, Chen Xiaofeng suddenly turned around and smiled meaningfully at Butler Hu and his son. By the way, I have forgotten to mention that Tong Bing is into men. So, when you're taking care of him, make sure you don't get it wrong. Ha 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 ha, Hu Minghui laughed wildly. He suddenly entered the inner room and pulled a large chain from under his bed. Then, he thrust it forcefully towards Tong Bing's hip bone, saying, Tong Bing, do you know what this chain is? The men you sent used it to tie me up and humiliate me. They ignored my pleas and screams, treating me worse than an animal. They even used this chain to saw off my right leg. Before they left, they made it clear to me that you, Tong Bing, ordered them to do all this. You even had them tell me explicitly that this was your revenge for the times I humiliated and beat you. Tong Bing. Hu Minghui's voice became sharp. You're not human at all. You're lower than an animal. Sure, I mistreated you back then, maybe gave you a beating or kept you from taking a test you'd never pass anyway. But what did you do? You not only destroyed my family, but you also had people torture me and my father to death. You turned me into a cripple. My father's leg is crippled for protecting me. His cultivation even dropped by a level. I've kept the chain ever since, telling myself I must have my revenge one day. Ha ha ha. I didn't expect that heaven heard my prayer and gave me such a chance. Hu Minghui said with a sinister smile, I heard that there are many sex-hungry low-rank martial artists in the northern crystal mines. To appease them and make them work more efficiently, some minor sects would secretly send over women or young boys to satisfy their needs. Do you know how tragic their fates are? Some of those young boys and girls are innocent. Compared to them, you're more deserving to be in that place. Who knows? You might even enjoy it. Ha ha ha. Tong Bing, brace yourself for a lifetime of constantly wishing for death. Hu Minghui grabbed the chain excitedly, then turned around and asked Butler Hu, Father, let's go to the crystal mine tomorrow, okay? Tong Bing opened his eyes wide in horror. The pain in his chest made his whole body convulse, but it was nothing compared to the overwhelming despair that surged up in his heart. At this moment, Tong Bing was filled with regret. He thought of the innocent and kind-hearted person he once was when he first met Shiyu, recalled her help, and remembered his initial admiration and respect for her. What should have been a beautiful beginning took a different turn, leading him further and further astray. At this point in time, it was too late to regret. He no longer had the chance to turn back. The dim candlelight swayed gently in the empty room. Its flickering light was reflected across Lu Zhishi's face. Thank you for supporting our novels. Your comment, interaction, and just by reading the novels are a great support to us. Discover what unfolds next by accessing the chapters before anyone else. Your support means the world to us. Click here to access our support page. Follow current novels on Top Novelful. Com if you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know, report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: You can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1579. Serve Lu Zixi anxiously looked at her father, Lu Xuyang, whose eyes were slightly closed. She whispered pleadingly, "Father, I don't want to serve that Qishan. I'm fond of Nangong Yu. Father, can't you grant me my wish? Grant your wish?" Lu Xuyang opened his eyes, lowered his gaze to look at the girl kneeling before him, and said with a faint smile, "I would love to grant your wish, but you're worthless. You didn't win Nangong Yu's heart. How do you expect me to help you?" Desperation filled Lu Zhixi's eyes. She was about to say something, but Lu Xuyang's expression turned cold. "I'm warning you. Serving Qishan is my order, and there's no room to say no. You don't want to serve Qishan? Fine, but I'll reclaim the voodoo from you. You will turn back to your decaying appearance. No. I'd rather die than go back to that." Lu Zixi jolted, and she screamed hysterically. She would rather die than turn back into that hideous appearance at the magic beast forest. Lu Xuyang smiled and caressed Lu Zhixi's cheek. "So, you need to behave and be an obedient daughter. I've never invested in someone who doesn't bring any value. Understand? If you do, change into the clothes I've prepared for you and head to Qishan's room." Lu Zixi was resentful, but she still had to leave obediently. Lu Xuyang sat on the seat, frowning. With his eyes narrowed, he suddenly reached out his hand and grabbed the air. The next moment, a wisp of green smoke appeared, hovering gently in his palm. Rosemary, the scent that Heshi smelled in the Seven Stars trapping formation, was a potent aphrodisiac. However, Heshi's ability was limited by the Seven Stars trapping formation at that time, so she didn't realize that the rosemary was mixed with dazzling voodoo powder. The voodoo was grounded, turning into powder under a dedicated process. When the Mother Voodoo called out, it would return to Mother Voodoo. Lu Xuyang cast his devouring power toward the green smoke. His initially calm face burst into joy. "It's the wood source. It is really the wood source. Ha 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 ha, Shiyu, I knew it must be you. I have been searching for it, and it turns out the wood source is just right before me. The wood source is destined to be mine." Lu Zixi was carried into Qishan's room, barely clothed. Her heart was filled with shame and anger. When she saw Qishan's face, she was so disgusted that she almost wanted to throw up. Qishan's sallow complexion revealed cracked patterns when he was in heat, making him look nauseating due to his close resemblance to a reptile. Lu Zixi thought that night would be miserable for her, but things turned out to be the opposite of what she expected. When Qishan touched her skin, her body seemed to be ignited by something. She was overwhelmed with waves of unbearable heat. At first, the sight of Qishan made her feel nauseous. Touching his rough skin would startle her, causing her to withdraw her hand quickly. However, as the heat in her body became more and more intense, her rationality was overwhelmed by desire. She couldn't help but climb on top of Qishan and moan. That burning passion and her proactiveness eventually became too much for Qishan to handle. The passionate encounter lasted for over an hour. Qishan lay on the bed covered in sweat. The cracked patterns on his face receded, reverting into the sallow complexion. There was a trace of fatigue in his eyes. "Thank you for supporting our novels. Your comment, interaction, and just by reading the novels are a great support to us. Discover what unfolds next by accessing the chapters before anyone else. Your support means the world to us. Click here to access our support page. Follow current novels on Top Novelful.com if you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know, report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1580. Radiant Lu Zixi was also drenched in sweat, but she looked radiant. Flushed from the lingering passion, her face appeared especially enchanting and seductive. Moreover, To Lu Zhishi's ecstasy, she found out that her strength had increased when she channeled her spiritual power. The voodoo within her became increasingly excited and active. Since her voodoo became more active, her appearance became even more captivating. Her eyes were brimming with endless charm. Why has my strength grown after my intimate encounter with Qishan? Could the voodoo within me be absorbing Qishan's power, adding it to my own? Thinking of this, a wave of greed struck Lu Zhishi's heart. She didn't care about Qishan's ugly appearance anymore. She clung to Qishan softly and whispered, "My lord, I want more. Let's do it again, shall we?" Qishan was exhausted. However, Lu Zhishi's enticing figure and seductive moan made him lose all restraints. Without hesitation, he pinned her down beneath him, indulging in another passionate round. Another hour passed. Lu Zhishi looked radiant, showing no signs of having been ravaged. Moreover, the absorption of fundamental essence took place without leaving a trace. Even though Qishan was at soul-splitting stage, he had not noticed it. Ha ha ha. Lu Zhishi laughed silently in her heart. She finally knew why Lu Shuyang put voodoo inside her. He only wanted to make me the plaything for the powerhouses and take away their spiritual essence through the voodoo in me. But, so what? Now that I know about this, I can take advantage of it. Yeah, I'm sleeping with an ugly man, so what? As long as I can become stronger and align myself with a master, Lu Shuyang can only become my stepping stone. Nangong, you will become mine one day. Lu Zhishi gently rubbed against Qi Shan's body, trying to trick Qi Shan into going intimate with her for a few more rounds. However, Qi Shan felt drained this time, so he rejected Lu Zhishi's seductive invitation. However, Qi Shan didn't expect that Lu Zhishi was plotting against him. He thought he had just crossed the barrier to a lower realm, so his body and spiritual power had not fully recovered. Therefore, he was unable to do what he wanted. Lu Zhishi lay on Qishan weakly, resembling a delicate bird nestling against someone. However, there was a trace of disdain in her eyes. This man is nothing. It's only 2 rounds, but he can't take it anymore. When I find a better backer, I will kick him away sooner or later. Thinking of this, Lu Zhishi gently caressed Qi Shan's chest and playfully pouted, "Sir Qishan is so powerful. It's Zhishi's first time today, and I almost couldn't handle it." Qi Shan showed a complacent look on his face. No man would not like to hear a woman's praise in this regard. Lu Zhishi said again, "My lord, I've given myself entirely to you. You have to take responsibility for me." Qi Shan caressed her soft cheek, his voice rough and raspy, "You little seductress, how do you want me to take responsibility for you? Thank you for supporting our novels. Your comment, interaction, and just by reading the novels are a great support to us. Discover what unfolds next by accessing the chapters before anyone else. Your support means the world to us. Click here to access our support page. Follow current novels on Top Novelful. Com if you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know, report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1581, Suspicion. I've always heard that the Siam continent is much better than the Miluo continent, with treasures around every corner. I'm hoping to visit Siam with you and broaden my horizons. Now that I'm yours, I can't stand the thought of being away from you even for a day. Qishan smiled but didn't give her a clear answer. It was not the first time he had encountered a woman in the lower realm dedicating herself to flattery, hoping for a chance to ascend to the upper realm. To him, although Lu Zhishi might be pretty and entertaining, she was just a plaything. Whether you can go to the upper realm with me depends on your performance. Lu Zhishi gritted her teeth secretly but said coquettishly, "My lord, didn't Zhishi behave well enough just now? How else do you want Zhishi to behave?" Qishan rolled his eyes and suddenly said in a deep voice, "Tell me first, what is the origin of that Shiyu?" When Lu Zhishi heard Shiyu's name, her increasingly seductive face twisted ferociously. It took her a long time to calm down. She gritted her teeth and said, "She is just a village girl from a small place. What kind of background does she possibly have? It's sheer luck that she has immortal Xian Qing as her master. Otherwise, where would she be today? My lord, you wouldn't believe it. Immortal Xian Qing treats the village girl well, establishing the Xingda pharmacy for her and providing her with the best quality pill. Immortal Xian Qing had even advanced her cultivation from the foundation establishment stage to gold core stage. That bitch only had foundation establishment stage when she ventured into the magical beast forest. She was supposed to die there, but she advanced in the forest into the gold core stage. Even heaven favors her." The more Lu Zixi said, the more resentful and crazy she became. However, Qishan frowned and caught Lu Zixi's words. Did she advance from the foundation establishment stage to the gold core stage within half a year? It even happened in the magical beast forest. Tell me exactly what happened when she promoted her cultivation. Zixi was annoyed, full of disdain. The last thing she wanted to talk about was Shiyu's shining achievements. Qishan suddenly narrowed his eyes and said, "As long as you tell me everything you know, without any falsehoods, I promise to take you to Siam continent when your cultivation reaches the nascent soul stage." "My lord, are you serious?" Qishan's eyes flashed a hint of sarcasm, but he smiled and said, "Little beauty, you serve me so well. How could I lie to you? But don't blame me for being harsh if you dare to lie." Qishan spoke the last sentence in a stern voice. Lu Zixi shuddered, but she eventually committed and recounted in detail the scene of Shiyu's advancement in cultivation during that time. The more Qishan listened, the more dignified his expression became. The time when Shiyu advanced was precisely the time when Golden Wolf planned to capture the beastkins in the magical beast forest. However, after that, Golden Wolf suddenly disappeared. When he returned, he had become a fool, repeating the words, "would source," repeatedly. Moreover, after Qishan inquired about the Miluo continent, he found out that during those days, unusual events happened in the magical beast forest. There were thunderclouds covering the sky and green beams of light shooting straight into the sky. It just so happened that Shiyu ascended to the gold core stage at that time. Could everything be related to this girl? The same girl who would actually wear the phoenix feather heavenly dress and even make the phoenix feather heavenly dress acknowledge her as the owner. Thank you for supporting our novels. Your comment, interaction, and just by reading the novels are a great support to us. Discover what unfolds next by accessing the chapters before anyone else. Your support means the world to us. Click here to access our support page. Follow current novels on Top Novelful. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1582, Good for Nothing. Thinking of this, Qishan could no longer stay still. He abruptly pushed away Zixi, who was lying on top of him, and swiftly got up. Lu Zixi reached out to hold him back and said puzzledly, "My lord, what's the matter? It's still late at night. Why did you get up?" Before she could finish speaking, Qishan impatiently pushed her aside and vanished from the room in a flash. Zixi was left alone and utterly clueless about what she did wrong. She looked both shocked and scared. While Lu Shuyang was eagerly and excitedly thinking about how to get the wood source, he suddenly felt a violent spiritual power fluctuation coming from the direction of the barrier teleportation array. With a serious look, he hurried over but only saw Qishan disappearing into the barrier. "Father, what happened? Why did Sir Qishan leave suddenly?" Lu Zixi's panicked voice came from behind. The panic was mixed with resentment. "This bastard, how dare he leave after everything? What did you take me, Lu Zixi, as? You're supposed to improve my strength and bring me to the Siam continent as soon as possible." Lu Shuyang's expression turned livid. He slowly turned to look at Lu Zixi. "That's a question I should be asking you. What just happened? Why did Qishan leave so suddenly? Lu Zhishi said aggrievedly, Father, I obeyed your order to serve Sir Qishan. I don't know why Sir Qishan suddenly. Lu Shiyang waved his hand to cut her off. He said with a gloomy face, Tell me everything you have done and said. If you dare to hide anything, you will know the consequences. Lu Zhishi was terrified when she saw Lu Shiyang's cold and cruel eyes. Years of dominance made her dare not resist, so she obediently recounted everything that had just happened. When Lu Shiyang heard her mentioning what happened before and after Shiyu's advancement in cultivation, his expression was gloomy and frightening. Before Zhishi could finish her sentence, he slapped her hard, gritting his teeth and saying, You're good for nothing. I can't believe a useless person like you ruined my plan. Half of Lu Zhishi's cheek was swollen from the slap. She fell heavily to the ground, looking at Lu Shiyang with astonishment and horror. Lu Shiyang sneered, with a sharp cold glint in his eyes, I kept you around to restore your beauty, hoping that you could control the people sent by the Green Vine clan. I have never expected you to be so useless. Not only did you fail to seduce Qishan, but you also ruined my entire plan. What's the use of me keeping trash like you? Father. Father. I'm sorry. I dare not repeat the mistake again. Please give your daughter another chance, sob. Lu Zhishi cried loudly. She knew how cruel Lu Shiyang was, who might probably kill her on the spot. Lu Shiyang raised his hand in midair. He sneered, Fine, I'll spare your life. You'll serve well to divert Nangong Yu's attention. I bet you didn't know. Nangong Yu and the Nangong family have already grasped the crucial clues. Soon, they will trace the clues back to you. Ha, my dear daughter, best of luck to you. Lu Zhishi's eyes widened all of a sudden. Her face was filled with fear. She opened her mouth wide, wanting to say something. However, Lu Shiyang already instructed coldly, Send Miss back to Miracle Healer Academy. Without my permission, she is not allowed to return to the Doctors' Association. No. Dad. Dad. Help me. Help me. A shrill cry sounded in Lu Shiyang's mansion and disappeared without a trace. Thank you for supporting our novels. Your comment, interaction, and just by reading the novels are a great support to us. Discover what unfolds next by accessing the chapters before anyone else. Your support means the world to us. Click here to access our support page. Follow current novels on Top Novelful.com if you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know, report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip, you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1583, Legend as for Heshi. After they returned to the dormitory of Huang Medical Branch, Nangong Yu was quickly driven away by the impatient immortal Xian Qing. Nangong Yu found this old man not pleasing to the eye, but immortal Xian Qing's cultivation was higher. He was Shear's master, too, so he could only stomach his frustration. After Nangong Yu left, immortal Xian Qing took out the chicken legs and fine wine. While indulging in the food, he mumbled, My dear Discipline, did you agree to marry that rascal? You know, I have connections with many talented young men in the upper realm, surely better choices than that Nangongjiu. A hint of amusement flashed in Heshi's eyes, but she feigned complaint, No way. Just one relationship is troublesome enough, and now you want to introduce me to a bunch of potential dates. Are you trying to make my life even more complicated? Immortal Xian Qing glanced at her. He shook his head and said, Young girls grow up so quickly. In such a short time, my sweet and precious disciple has been charmed away by that Nangong family's brat. TSK, he's just as shameless as his master. Heshi asked in surprise, Master, who is Nangong Yu's master? Immortal Xian Qing paused momentarily, then chuckled awkwardly, That's a shameless old man. Every time he loses a fight with me, he throws a fit. He's always mooching off my food and drink. It figures that his disciple and grand disciple would be cut from the same cloth. He glanced suspiciously at immortal Qianqing. She had the illusion that the person who lost the duel fight and cheated was her gluttonous master. Feeling embarrassed by Heshi's gaze, immortal Qianqing glared back at her. After quickly finishing the chicken leg in his hand, he said in a deep voice, "Bring out the phoenix feather heavenly dress and purple jade phoenix hairpin for me to see." Heshi was surprised but still took out the two items without hesitation. Phoenix feather heavenly dress looked lavish and vibrant. Both its fabric and accessories emitted a faint glow. However, it shone a bit lesser than when Heshi wore it. However, when Heshi touched it, a ray of light flashed immediately on the cloth woven with natural silk. The array patterns on it flashed. In Heshi's eyes, it was as if the crisscross patterns on the clothes were suddenly energized when she touched them. Heshi's eyes widened slightly. Immortal Qianqing's face turned serious. The playful smile just now was no longer on his face. He spoke in a deep voice, "The seal of the phoenix feather heavenly dress has been lifted." "That's quite unexpected." Immortal Qianqing looked at his disciple. The expression in his eyes was indescribably complicated. The young girl before him was in the prime of her youth, stunningly beautiful. Even in the legendary god domain, it might be hard to find a woman more captivating than her. Initially, immortal Qianqing accepted this disciple because he liked this young girl's personality. Besides, he really couldn't resist the temptation of delicious food. However, what he thought to be an ordinary lower realm girl had such an astonishing secret behind her. Everything was unimaginable, whether it was the portrait, her stunning talent, or the hidden power of those around her. Not to mention the activated phoenix feather heavenly dress. Does my young disciple understand what it means for the phoenix feather heavenly dress to be activated? If the legend is true, the rightful owner of phoenix feather heavenly dress is destined to be that person's. Immortal Qianqing frowned tightly. Even Heshi noticed his unusual behavior. She couldn't help but ask, "Master, what's the matter? Is there something wrong with this phoenix feather heavenly dress?" Thank you for supporting our novels. Your comment, interaction, and just by reading the novels are a great support to us. Discover what unfolds next by accessing the chapters before anyone else. Your support means the world to us. Click here to access our support page. Follow current novels on Top Novelful.com. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1584, Disaster. Immortal Qianqing looked at Heshi hesitantly, pausing momentarily before asking, "Are you sure you're set on marrying none other than Nangong Yu?" Heshi blushed. For a rare moment, she looked like a bashful young girl. "Master, how many times are you going to ask me that? If there were anyone in this world she would willingly spend her life with, it would undoubtedly be Nangong Yu. Moreover, we had set a date for our wedding. We will return to Jinling City after the matter of Miracle Healer Academy is over. Master, will you go back together?" Heshi had always been reserved and independent, but she could sense every bit of affection that immortal Qianqing showered on her. From initially resisting him to accepting him, she truly regarded this old man as a master and an elder. That was why she occasionally showed a softer, youthful side before him. Seeing her demeanor, immortal Qianqing knew it wasn't a one-sided deep infatuation from Nangong Yu. He couldn't help but sigh and say, okay, I won't ask anymore. However, be careful from now on." Seeing immortal Qianqing's solemn expression, Heshi immediately restrained herself and listened to the teaching. Immortal Qianqing narrowed his eyes slightly. Members of the Green Vine clan and the Nangong family witnessed everything today. Soon, this news will spread to the Siam continent. If they learn that you've worn the phoenix feather heavenly dress, there will be a lot of troubles. What concerns me most isn't that, but the wood's spiritual root in your body. Green Vine clan has been looking for the purest wood spiritual root, intending to claim it as their own. It will spell disaster if they discover the wood spiritual root in you. He wanted to confess to Immortal Xian Qing about the wood source, but Immortal Xian Qing suddenly picked up Phoenix Feather Heavenly Dress. A stream of pure spiritual power, mixed with the power of fundamental essence, suddenly poured into Phoenix Feather Heavenly Dress. The already illuminated glowing patterns on the Phoenix Feather Heavenly Dress shone as bright as the blazing sun, dazzling and brilliant. When the power and light faded, Immortal Xian Qing slumped exhausted into his chair. His face revealed his fatigue. Even the wrinkles on his face deepened a bit more. Master! Immortal Xian Qing waved his hand, signaling He to stay calm. He panted briefly before saying, "What are you shouting for? Pouring this bit of spiritual power and fundamental essence into it doesn't kill me. I can recover in merely a month." He frowned and looked at Phoenix Feather Heavenly Dress. "Master, why are you?" After catching his breath, Immortal Xian Qing quickly took out a bottle of fine wine, had several gulps, and sighed, "Now that's a good wine. A drink brings this old man back to life, ha." Seeing Hexi's worried and disapproving face, Immortal Xian Qing smiled and said, "My dear disciple, I know you can now use old Zi Jin's Maha inheritance at the 3rd level, Sinless Fire. This move is mighty. When executed at full strength, it can instantly kill martial artists in the early and middle stages of the soul-splitting stage. However, your current cultivation is inadequate. Using the Sinless Fire will exhaust your spiritual power. At most, you can instantly kill a nascent soul-stage martial artist. I have infused my fundamental essence into the Phoenix Feather Heavenly Dress. If you ever find yourself in grave danger, put on the Phoenix Feather Heavenly Dress and unleash the Sinless Fire. The power of the move is raised to its limit. Also, I have ensured you can cast it at least 3 times. You have too many secrets surrounding you, girl. I can't always be by your side to protect you. Even if you used an inscribed message jade slip to alert me, I might not make it in time. Thankfully, the Phoenix Feather Heavenly Dress can store fundamental essence. Thank you for supporting our novels. Your comment, interaction, and just by reading the novels are a great support to us. Discover what unfolds next by accessing the chapters before anyone else. Your support means the world to us. Click here to access our support page. Follow current novels on Top Novelful.com. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 1585, Widespread News. My dear disciple, this is a wedding gift from me. Oh, I have suffered a big loss this time, losing so much of my spiritual energy. I have to drink a lot of fine wine to make up for it. He took over the Phoenix Feather Heavenly Dress and felt the robust energy circulating on the dress. She felt grateful and joyful. This gift was indeed what she needed and liked the most. Thank you, Master. He hugged Immortal Xian Qing, ignoring his sloppy clothes and the alcohol residue on his beard. She decided that after this busy period, she would brew some fine wine for Immortal Xian Qing, showcasing her culinary and brewing skills from her previous life to repay her master's kindness. Immortal Xian Qing was flustered, and even his face was red. Ha, my cold and indifferent apprentice suddenly treats me so kindly. Such magnitude of care makes me flattered. No wonder those elderlies in the Siam continent like the youngsters so much, wanting to pamper them so much. The news that Shiyu was a woman spread rapidly to the entire Miluo continent. Due to Nangong Yu's influence, the boundless black market spread the news everywhere. In just a few days, the Miluo continent heard 2 pieces of news. The first piece of news was that Shiyu was a woman, the second piece of news was that the king of hell, Nangong Yu, and Shiyu would get married on September 9th. The location was set to be the Yanjing city of Jinling Kingdom. Shiyu and the others were running busy in the sealed dragon domain of Jinling Kingdom. Was the sealed dragon domain big? Yes, that place was vast beyond imagination. The warehouse there could store thousands of goods. However, the warehouse was almost full. Even the Greenwood domain, which had more caves, was short of space to store the treasures. In just a few days, the bridal gifts from the King of Hell mansion kept pouring into the Tsang mountain. Because of this, everyone knew that Shi Yu was the one who snatched control of the sealed dragon domain's secret territory back then. Was it shocking? Yes, of course. However, when everyone knew that Shi Yu was immortal Xian Qing's disciple, the shock turned into amazement and acceptance. Immortal Zi Jin left behind the sealed dragon domain's secret territory. Moreover, or even better, the immortal Xian Qing's cultivation was comparable to immortal Zi Jin's. So, there were no surprises for immortal Xian Qing's disciples to acquire the sealed dragon domain. In just over a year since Shi Yu rose to prominence, there were too many astonishing deeds she had accomplished. She established her name in the Breaking Spirit Mountain, acquired the Xingda Hall, concocted the best quality pill, saved the Yangon City Lord's son, and entered the Miracle Healer Academy. Now, it was revealed that she was a woman who would be marrying into the King of Hell mansion. Many people thought that if someone said Shi Yu was the Nine Heavens maiden or a hidden gem from the vast sea, they wouldn't be surprised. The shock she had given everyone had been so numerous that they had become numb. The citizens of Jinling Kingdom had fully come to see the King of Hell, Nangong Yu, and Shi Yu, as representatives of their kingdom. It was initially a small kingdom that everyone oppressed, but they held pride in speaking to outsiders with their identities now. Did you say you belong to the Tsangming Kingdom? Was your land bigger than ours? That was nothing. If the King of Hell attacked your land would soon belong to Jinling Kingdom at any minute. Chapter 1586, Dowry. So, I heard you were from the Shui Yu sect, which was rich in resources. Pfft, could you get a steady supply of the best quality pills? Our Jinling Kingdom could because the headquarters of the Xingda Hall was in our Jinling Kingdom. Shi Yu was also from our Jinling Kingdom, the wedding of He and Nangong Yu was celebrated as the biggest event in the Jinling Kingdom. Everyone was eagerly awaiting the arrival of September 9th. In the sealed dragon domain, Shi Jia, Mai Xiang, Mu Dong, and the rest knelt in front of Mammy Chen's tomb, paying their respect individually. Shi Jia said softly, "Mammy Chen, the young miss asked me to tell you that she is doing well and is about to get married. You can rest easy now." Mai Xiang and Mu Dong had tears in their eyes. Although they didn't know Mammy Chen, they were aware that she was someone the young miss deeply respected. They had also heard many stories about Mammy Chen and knew the hardships she and the young miss had endured. Mai Xiang said sobbingly, "Mammy Chen, we will take good care of the young miss. His Royal Highness King of Hell is so in love with her. She will be happy after marriage." In the ice-snow domain, hundreds of thousands of Jinwei army gathered together, each with a look of astonishment and shock on their faces. Mr. Shi Yu is actually a woman. The talented and dazzling Mr. Shi Yu is actually a woman. That was already several days later. When they first heard the news, all 100,000 of them were utterly shocked. They were frozen in disbelief for several hours, unable to snap out of it. Chen Guang muttered, "Who would have thought that after training for so long, instead of having the young miss join the battle, we'd first have to attend her wedding?" Speaking of miss, Chen Guang's mouth twitched. He still couldn't believe it. Shi Yu was a woman, and she was about to get married. Someone among the soldiers suddenly shouted, "Who cares if she is a young master or a young miss? Since she is getting married, we need to show up and support her. When the time comes, our troops will follow behind the wedding procession, carrying the dowry. We'll march in majestically with dowry spans thousands of miles." Upon hearing this, everyone rejoiced and burst into laughter. "I wonder if the wedding banquet held by the King of Hell mansion will be big enough to accommodate all 100,000 of us. If the wedding banquet isn't grand enough, how dare he marry our young miss?" Someone shouted, "Anyway, the young miss has invited us to the wedding, let's go and enjoy ourselves." PSH, are you kidding me? That's His Royal Highness King of Hell, the mightiest martial artist in our Jinling kingdom. He's currently the #1 of the Miluo continent. If he is marrying our young miss, do you really think that the arrangements would be anything less than grand? Apart from the Jinling kingdom, there was also the Shin family from the Qingxia sect, Master Yuehua of the Yangon city, and even the Han family and the Xia family. Some of them were shocked, and some were delighted. They all started looking for rare items as gifts for the September 9th. The entire Miluo continent immortal realm had never been so lively. Of course, while some people were delighted, there were also those who felt resentful and unwilling. When Naylan Yurong got the news, she had just returned from the nascent soul stage old man whom Master Shukong asked her to serve. Despite feeling disgusted and repulsed inside, she still put on a facade of a sweet smile on her face. Is she a woman? Is she marrying His Royal Highness King of Hell? How is this possible? This news must be fake, fake. Naylan Yurong's voice was high-pitched and sharp, like nails scraping against a slate, creating a grating sound. Chapter 1587, Alone? The one who came to deliver the news was another female disciple of Master Shukong, who was not as beautiful as Naylan Yurong. However, her gaze at Naylan Yurong was filled with a condescending smirk. Ha ha ha, how can that be impossible? Those who participated in the Nangong family's banquet at Miracle Healer Academy passed the news back. Shiyu is not only a woman but also stunningly beautiful, with remarkable talents. At such a young age, she already possesses the peak of the gold core stage. Compared to some useless idiots, she's miles ahead in terms of power. Unlike someone who is a nobody now. She still fantasizes that Her Highness King of Hell loves her. TSK, I must admit that I can't match that level of shamelessness. Naylan Yurong's face turned pale, and then anger, sadness, and disbelief painted her expression. She seemingly gave the appearance of an infatuated woman whom the heartless man had let down. The female disciples of Master Shukong sneered. Her tone was sarcastic. Senior Sister Naylan, don't you always think that you are as beautiful as a fairy, and no one doesn't like you? Back then, you used your looks and the Naylan family's Juko Lingshan pill to marginalize me so that senior brother and master shun me. Hee, didn't expect this, did you? The tides have turned, and now the Naylan family has fallen. The Juko Lingshan pill you brought back is fake, and your body has been defiled by who knows how many old men. What face do you have left to mock me, to ostracize me? Look at those junior brothers and sisters flocking around you now. Do you think they'll spare you another glance? Seeing Naylan Yurong's face getting increasingly sour, the female disciple fell into high spirits. She chuckled as she walked away. Before leaving, she remarked, "Oh, I almost forgot to remind you. The wedding of His Highness King of Hell and Shiyu is set on the 9th of September. Even though you're not invited." Ha ha ha. Naylan Yurong clenched her fists tightly with both hands and remained frozen. After a long time, she gritted her teeth and shook her head. No. No. King of Hell Nangong, you initially proposed to Naylan Heshi for the relics of Enlingyue in her possession. Why would he suddenly want to marry Shiyu? Could it be Enlingyue's relics are already in Shiyu's hands? But why did Shiyu suddenly become a woman? The more Naylan Yurong thought about it, the more anxious she became. A vision of Nangong Yu's handsome and flawless face flashed through her mind, igniting a rush of warmth, followed by a surge of jealousy and burning resentment. Shiyu, you bitch. If you don't have Enlingyue's relic, how would you have the power and status you hold now? If I have the Enlingyue's relic, I would definitely. Wait a moment. Naylan Yurong's expression suddenly froze, her eyes flickering with a spark of realization. No. When did Shiyu appear? It was over a year ago, the same time as Naylan Heshi's transformation. Also, Sealed Dragon Domain, Tsang Mountain, at the foot of Tsang Mountain, isn't that the courtyard where Naylan Heshi was abandoned? Shiyu is a woman who got Enlingyue's relic. Nangong Yu first proposed to Naylan Heshi, and now he is going to marry Shiyu. What is the connection between this? Could Shiyu and Nalan Heshi be the same person? Nalan Yurong's eyes widened, full of shock and disbelief, followed by hatred. Nalan Heshi, you bitch. You're supposed to be the trash below me. You're the illegitimate daughter of the Nalan family. How did you transform into that stunning Shiyu? Why do you get to marry Nangong, you bitch? Chapter 1588, Swine Disease. No. I will tell everyone that Nalan Heshi is Shiyu. She is the illegitimate daughter, the lowest of the low. Nalan Yurong hurriedly headed for the door. However, just as she reached it, she suddenly stopped. Even if I tell the others that Shiyu is Nalan Heshi, who would believe me? Everyone would treat me as a laughing stock. Nalan Yurong gritted her teeth. A cold glint burst out from her eyes. Nalan Heshi has everything she does now because of Enlingyue's relic. If I could get my hands on that relic. No, I must get that relic. I can't keep living this miserable life. With that thought, Nalan Yurong gritted her teeth and headed to Yanjing City immediately. In the void, several little ones heard the buzzing news from the Miracle Healer Academy and Miracle Healer City. Little Egg strode happily in the void. Oh, my mother is getting married. My mother is really going to get married. Little Egg will have a father in the future. Then, I will have a father, a mother, a younger brother, and a younger sister in the future. Ha! Little Egg will no longer be alone. The little golden dragon hovered in the air, casting a disdainful gaze at the little pink pig roaming around in a frolicking manner and little dumb cow trailing behind it. These two embarrassing fellows. Don't tell anyone that I'm with you. Little red bird perched on Shaoqi's shoulder and chirped, what is marriage? Can it be eaten? What is this silly pig so excited about? Is it sick? Swine disease. You're the only one with swine disease. You silly bird. Little Egg stopped, shooting the little red bird a fierce glare. It laughed with stars in its eyes. Oh, what should I do? I've never been to a wedding before. What should I wear? By the way, I want to be a flower boy. I want to sprinkle flower petals for my mother. I want to be a ring boy and deliver the wedding rings. Ha ha ha, I must dress up nicely. Oh, I'll ask Mom to get me a custom-made outfit. Ha ha ha, little golden dragon and little red bird looked confused. Flower boy. Ring boy. Custom-made outfit? What the hell is this? Hearing little red bird's chirping questions, Little Egg put on a proud and coy face, pointed at the little golden dragon, and said arrogantly, you bunch of bumpkins. You don't even know this bit of common sense and have the nerve to say you're under me. It's embarrassing for me if word gets out. Little golden dragon and little red bird, I really want to beat him up. Little Egg frothed and introduced the marriage scene in the TV series to the two. Its memories spanned tens of thousands of years, mingling with various wedding scenes, plus what it had seen on TV. As a result, its words were a jumbled mess, making little coherent sense. However, little golden dragon and little red bird still understood him. Or rather, they understood one thing. Oh man, weddings do seem like a lot of fun. We're going to play pranks in the bridal chamber and tease the groom, Nangong Yu. Ha ha ha, and Nangong Yu can't even fight back. Just thinking about it is so exciting. Suddenly, Little Egg's excitedly drooling smiling face froze. Its pink face revealed a troubled expression. Ah, no, the wedding can't be like that. The procedure is wrong. Little golden dragon and the others looked confused. What's going on? Weren't we all happy just a moment ago? Why the sudden change of heart? Little Egg's mind is unpredictable. Little Egg ignored them but exited the void. Chapter 1589, Deep in Love. Outside the void, Heshi and Nangong Yu were relaxing in the yard of Xingda Hall in Miracle Healer City, basking in the sun. The two did not talk or cultivate but enjoyed this rare quiet moment. Nangong Yu leaned on Heshi's lap, and Heshi's hand gently rested on his head. Those fair and slender fingers, with well-proportioned joints, were like meticulously carved suet jade. They shimmered under the bask of sunlight. The gentle fingers massaged Nangong Yu's temples while pure water spiritual power seeped in through the fingertips, gradually aligning his meridians and spiritual power. The once turbulent spiritual energy seemed to be soothed, sighing in contentment, and then became as docile as a little lamb. A contented and blissful smile appeared on Nangong Yu's face, wishing that this moment could last forever. Unfortunately, that was impossible. Qing Long quickly came in to report, "Master, Xian Wu is seeking an audience." Xian Wu bowed and said, "I've given the clues found at the 7 Stars trapping formation to the old lady. She asked me to tell you that she will definitely root out the culprits behind this. Moreover, the Nangong family has also started questioning some suspects in the Miracle Healer Academy." Xian Wu reported the names and identities of the suspects who were interrogated. Nangong Yu smiled and nodded, "You just need to assist Grandma and let Grandma take the lead in the investigation." Since old lady Nangong wished to make amends with Shiyu, he certainly wouldn't stand in the way. He would be delighted if Shiyu could get along well with his grandmother. Xian Wu bowed in response and was about to leave. However, Nangong Yu suddenly said in a deep voice, "Besides assisting Grandma, I want you to secretly investigate this matter as well, especially regarding those from the Nangong family involved in this matter. But, don't alert anyone, especially don't let my grandmother know." Xian Wu paused momentarily but didn't ask any further questions. He bowed again in acknowledgement before quickly departing. Heshi turned to look at him and raised her eyebrows slightly. It seemed to be a faint smile, yet there was a hint of doubt. Nangong Yu adored her expression deeply. He leaned down, kissed her forehead gently, and whispered, "My grandmother is getting on in years, there might be oversights in her investigation." He didn't want to doubt old lady Nangong, but he had to be cautious. "When it comes to your safety, I won't tolerate even the slightest oversight. Sheer, if anything were to happen to you, I can't imagine what I might do." A flash of fiery red glinted in Nangong Yu's eyes, and the aura around him seemed to turn almost demonic. Standing not far away, Qing Long trembled all over. A trace of instinctive fear flashed in his eyes. Ever since Nangong Yu suppressed the cold poison in his body in the magical beast forest, his strength had advanced by leaps and bounds, reaching the soul-splitting later stage. However, it seemed as if a malicious energy had taken root within him. This energy would surface whenever he became emotionally stirred, making him act out of character. Heshi hugged him gently and said softly, "Me too. Nangong Yu, you have to protect me, but also protect yourself. Nangong Yu, I don't know what to do if something happens to you." Deep in love, Nangong Yu lowered his head and gently kissed her inviting lips. Qing Long left tacitly. The temperature in the air became warm and sultry little by little. Chapter 1590, I need to talk to you suddenly. With a bang, a pink little pig fell from the sky and hit Nangong Yu on the head. With a gloomy face, Nangong Yu looked at little pink pig, who fell between him and Heshi. His eyes were as sharp as a knife. No one liked to be interrupted when they were in the middle of a sweet moment, exchanging loving words. Little Egg swallowed and thought to himself, "Father is so scary. But Little Egg is a brave little egg. I must move forward bravely for Mother's happiness. Father, I need to talk to you about something." Nangong Yu's gaze was still sharp, giving off a, spit it out, get to the point, and then get lost, kind of vibe. Little Egg shrank its neck and muttered, "This matter can only be told to you, Father. Mother must not hear about it." Heshi's lips twitched, thinking, this two-faced rascal. I haven't even gotten married, and he's already cozying up to the new boss. She narrowed her eyes and said coldly, "Is there something he can hear that I can't, Little Egg? Whose spiritual pet are you?" Little Egg shrunk its neck even shorter and looked at Nangong Yu expectantly. Father and Mother look so scary when they're angry. Nangong Yu smirked. He became curious about what the little guy had to say. Could it be a secret about Sheer? Well, there's no harm in listening. Little Egg rambled on and on in the study, speaking very fast. He jumped from one topic to another. However, Nangong Yu understood it, and so did Qing Long, who stood behind Nangong Yu. Qing Long's forehead veins pulsed repeatedly. Even with his usually patient and loyal nature, he couldn't help but twitch his lips and say, "Master, I feel that this matter isn't quite right." Little Egg immediately retorted, "Why not? Little Egg's mother is the best mother in the world." "Father, am I right?" Nangong Yu nodded without hesitation. "Sheer is naturally the best. I'm afraid I haven't given her enough. Since Little Egg said it, I will naturally do it." "Wow, that's great." Little Egg cheered happily, then winked at Qing Long and grimaced, "Did you hear that? Father said he would do it." Qing Long looked at Nangong Yu and hesitated to speak. "Master, you are the king of hell." Nangong Yu narrowed his eyes and said coldly, "Qing Long, you sure have become quite chatty lately. Since when did it become your place to question my decisions?" Qing Long dare not. "Since you dare not, follow what Little Egg said and start preparing." The veins on Qing Long's forehead throbbed again, but he bowed and followed the command in the end. Little Egg held his round face, daydreamed about the future scenes and his mother's reaction, and chuckled mischievously. In Heaven No. 1 dormitory, Lu Zixi paced back and forth in her room restlessly. Since the day before yesterday, she was sent back to the Miracle Healer Academy by Lu Xiyang directly. Moreover, 2 nascent soul stage martial artists who were initially assigned to protect her were all recalled by Lu Xiyang. She was abandoned by Lu Xiyang and imprisoned in Miracle Healer Academy, unable to leave. Worse still, without Lu Xiyang's protection, she might not even be able to live in the Heaven dormitory anymore. However, that wasn't Lu Zixi's biggest concern. What terrified her most was that the entire Miracle Healer Academy was now on edge, with everyone feeling at risk. Old Lady Nangong's investigation was incredibly swift, promptly apprehending and interrogating anyone near the desolate courtyard during the banquet. Chapter 1591, Am I Pretty? Many people were taken away from the academy. It stood to reason that Lu Zixi should not be found out so quickly, but she had a bad premonition. Especially after a man named Zui Yihao from the Pioneer branch was taken away, Lu Zixi was even more restless. Zui Yihao was one of the gold core stage martial artists who participated in the 7 Stars trapping formation. If Zui Yihao ratted her out, everything would be over for her. Nangong Yu's swift action would be ruthless and heartless, he would not spare her. "No, that's impossible. Zui Yihao won't rat me out." "But what if?" Lu Zixi angrily grabbed a vase on the table and threw it on the ground. "Why is it that everything seems to be going wrong for me? It's as if the universe is deliberately conspiring against me." "Zixi, don't worry. Nangong Yu and the others won't trace it back to us." A pair of hands gripped her shoulders. Even though Lu Zixi wanted to shrug them off in irritation, a sudden warmth surged in her dantian. The voodoo that was lurking in her body became active. Lu Zixi's eyes shifted quickly. She quickly turned around with a weeping expression. She wrapped her arms around the man's neck behind her and said softly, "Yi Zhou, I'm so scared. Will you protect me?" Of course, I will protect you." The man's voice was hesitant and filled with desire, his hands beginning to wander on Lu Zixi's body. Lu Zixi's breath was sweet as she leaned towards the man. "Yi Zhou, I like you the most. What about you? Do you like me?" "I do." The man gazed at her with deep affection. Unable to contain himself any longer, he leaned down fiercely, capturing Lu Zixi's lips with his while his hands forcefully tore at her clothing. The room quickly filled with intimate sighs and moans. A sly smile flashed in Lu Zixi's eyes. After a while, the noise in the room finally subsided completely. Lu Zixi refreshedly got up from the bed and walked barefoot to the crystal-clear mirror. Her reflection in the mirror was enchanting, appearing a few years younger, yet with a seductive charm that could make any man's heart race just by looking at her. Lu Zixi laughed heartily as the wind blew in from outside the room, lifting the bed curtains and revealing the silhouette inside. The young man, who was still alive and kicking just now, looked withered. He was on the brink of death, as if his vitality had been drained away. However, the scariest thing was the satisfied smile. He kept muttering, "Zixi, let's do it again." Hearing his murmur, Lu Zixi sneered. She waved his hand, revealing a gap in the bed. The dying man fell through the gap. From below, faint roars of beasts could be heard. The bed soon reverted to its original state. Then, another student from the pioneer branch hurried in from the yard. When Hu Jianfei first entered, he was sweating profusely. His eyes filled with anxiety and panic. However, he was immediately entranced upon seeing Li Zixi, who looked as radiant and enticing as a dew-kissed rose. He put all urgent matters to the back of his mind. Lu Zixi turned around and saw Hu Jianfei's infatuated expression. A trace of disdain flashed in her eyes, but she gracefully extended her fingers and beckoned Hu Jianfei, saying, "Come here." Hu Jianfei walked over. He couldn't help but swallow when he saw Lu Zixi's deliberately exposed shoulders and chest. Lu Zixi smiled with satisfaction. "Am I pretty?" Hu Jianfei nodded repeatedly. "Am I prettier or she you?" "Of course, you are prettier." "Zixi, I really love you to death." You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.